Hmm.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
What up, everybody? You know what it is. This is Live Fire Friday. Welcome in, grab a beer, grab a hot dog like our good homie Adam Dorito would do. Cop a squat. The
The
show has now
glizzies.
begun. The Glizzy Master 3000, Adam Dorito. And if you're over on YouTube watching this, I promise you're not going to be you're going to be lonelier than a bag of frozen veggies in the back of the freezer. You should probably just jump on over here to Rumble and hang out where the live chat is a lot more fun. But if you are new here, welcome in. I promise you're not wasting your time. So smash that follow button for us, give the video a like, and if you're feeling generous, hit that repost because it really helps us out over here on Rumble. We are I Came a Fire podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. I'm a veteran father and husband, and we are here to be a bridge in the divide, your source for objective truth and educated opinion. We do have a special guest tonight who should be here shortly. His name is Nate Cornacchia.
He just
jump
texted
in.
me. Yep,
Yeah,
he's going to be on his way in a little bit, so he's waiting on us to get our stream up because he's actually going to bring his YouTube bros over. So
sick. Yeah. Nate's got his own channel, Valhalla VFT. Some of you guys may follow him over there, but appreciate him coming on. We're going to have a conversation about America first. And see the comment already from Ratchet in the chat about the shooting over there in Concord, North Carolina. Yeah, that really sucks. I've been to Concord quite a bit for the racetrack, and then I got a bunch of family that lives in that general vicinity. So, really sad to see. I hope that nobody was seriously injured or killed. Although I did see some initial reports that said that there were 6 people who were shot. That could mean a lot of different things. But so praying for those guys. Obviously, I know you guys are too. But what's up, Brandon 143 off the top rope with the dollar Rumble rant already, bro? Good evening, boys. Let's get into it. We're getting into it, dude. We're getting into it. We got, like I said, we got a pretty awesome guest tonight, Nate over there at Valhalla VFT. We're going to talk about America first. We're going to talk about what that actually means. And I'll just say this real quick up top that Chris and I had a really interesting podcast with our good buddy over there at UVU, Utah Valley University, which has been in the news quite a bit lately. Dr. Savannah Eccles Johnston sort of had a debate last night. Not sort of. We did have a debate last night about defining America, what that means, rights, the Constitution, all of that stuff. It was pretty good. Immigration specifically. Yeah, absolutely. You guys will catch that tomorrow morning. It'll be a really, really good show to watch. Obviously, I know you guys don't always agree with Dr. Johnson, and neither do we, which is why we bring her on. That way we're not being a total echo chamber over here, but it's a good time. It's a good time. And we're kind of have that conversation a little bit with Nate whenever he jumps in as well. Is the Constitution in its current form sufficient to solve the exigent circumstances of today? That's the conversation we're going to have. And it's a pretty good one, man. So, but you know what we should do, honestly, while we're waiting for the homie to come in, all the way from the cuck chair, I'm going to let Chris get his Department of War disclaimer out of the way real fast that we can jump in, dude. Let's do it.
Got to do it. What's up, guys? My name is Chris. I'm a Green Beret medic, a husband, and a father. And I'm required to do this for you every single time that I sign online. So for all of the legal nerds, let's do it. Yep, any and all opinions that you hear here on this channel belong completely and totally to the hosts and the guests. They do not represent the United States Army, the Department of War, or any other entity within the United States government. You guys have been disclaimed, so now we can truly talk about anything that we want. And I'll give you guys just a little bit of range familiarization so you can expect what's going to happen. So we're going to kick around some topics up top tonight because it's our show. We talk about whatever the hell we want. Tonight, we're going to have a cool conversation with an awesome guest whenever he joins the stream here. And then after that, we're going to hit the headlines, but they're not going to be the same boring headlines that everybody else is talking about. They're going to be the things that we think are important that you should be paying attention to because we're always trying to make you guys harder to kill. After that, we have the no-knock breakdown, tactical video encounters, and in honor of our guest tonight, who is a GWAT veteran and also a former Green Beret, I went back to the beginning and I grabbed a tactical video from early GWAT, which is a Green Beret video, and it's kind of a famous one that gets played all around the Q
Very
course.
cool. What
So you can
year?
see it somewhere around 05, 06, I
Mm,
think. But it's a dude
gotcha.
raiding a hut in Afghanistan with just he's lone gunning it with his partner force. So we'll show you guys
Badass.
that video and we'll talk about it. But all you homies on YouTube aren't going to be able to watch that video when we get to it because YouTube does not like it when we play tactical videos or 2A or anything like that. So if you want to watch that, you'll have to jump over to Rumble when we get to that point. After that, if you guys are still here, then that means that you subscribe to this particular brand of degeneracy, and the rest of the show will be of you guys, by you guys, for you guys. I will grab a drink because then we'll be into the comment section. That's what we'll be hanging out with you. But without further ado, because he's in the background here, I'm going to go ahead and bring our esteemed guest
I think he
in.
stepped out for a second.
Oh, he just stepped out.
I know.
Perfect timing.
No,
All right,
you
well,
put him on
whatever.
screen though. We put him on screen. We got his whole
Well, I don't
chat is
wanna-
in here. What's up, you guys?
Oh yeah, for everybody that's hanging
Dude.
out that jumped over from
Hey,
Valhalla
how many of you-
VFT.
How
welcome
many
in.
of you guys on the YouTube stream have Rumble? If you do, the live chat over here is going to be way better with the homies over here on Rumble. So if you guys have a Rumble channel, highly encourage you to jump on over and do that, especially if you're going to hang out for the whole show. Because like Chris said, once we start showing videos of guns and stuff like that, Google is gay and will fuck us over. So we tend to kill it at the end of the show when we do that kind of thing. So, but I appreciate you guys jumping in. This should be a fun conversation. And man, pretty awesome to see you guys.
Yeah,
Hopefully
for sure.
Nate
And
drain
yeah,
that main vein pretty soon.
whenever he
Thank you for the
sits
follow.
back, whenever he sits back down in the chair, we'll bring him in. But one more thing that I do want to tell you guys, you see Brandon coming in hot already with the Rumble rant for all the YouTube homies. That's what they call him over here on this side. Any super chat, Rumble rant, anything like that, all the way down to $1 automatically gets pulled on the screen, and you can hijack the conversation and we will interact with it. And then if you're here for the comment section in the end, we will be opening up the phone lines so you can call in and be a part of the show if you're here that late. So there he is. I will wait for him to get his ears in so that way we don't just ambush him. And
appreciate the follows, guys. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's up, man? How are
What
you?
is
All
up,
right,
Nate?
I'm here.
Welcome
Sorry.
in, man. Thanks for being part of the show
Had to-
tonight, dude. Thanks for coming in.
Had to piss real quick. I was,
Oh, yeah, for
got
sure.
off
Dude,
our live stream.
Yeah, we get it, man.
What's up,
Oh,
chat? We got what's up? We got all our chat in here too.
You do.
Hell yeah.
Fuckload of people, man. It's badass to see. You're
What's
not
up,
on
guys?
Rumble, are you, Nate?
Mm-mm.
No.
I'm not on anything but YouTube and Instagram.
There you go.
I don't
That's
even have a
cool, man.
Twitter.
Word.
Well,
Most of those are shit
Tis
shows
a-
anyway, man.
Tis a silly place.
Yeah.
So the entire internet is a silly place.
Yeah.
Well, if you do have an interest in hopping over to Rumble, we can definitely help you. We know some people over here. So
You know,
you've had some
once
crazy
I get
success.
banned for all my anti-Israel content, that's probably where I'll be pretty quickly after that. So
There you go.
For sure. I
I
feel
should
you, man.
probably get one. I should probably build one now if I was smart.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, we can help you out with that for sure. But we're going to do a quick shout out to our sponsors real fast before we get going. We got Killcliff. Like I always say, they're one of the best clean energy hydration and CBD recovery drinks on the market. I love the Orange Crush CBD. Super good. And then you can head over to redpillthreads.com/I came with fire for the merch, which will pop up here real fast.
It will, yeah. I'll get it going. Hold on. I actually had it prepped and then I killed it because I thought we were just going to jump right into the conversation. And then
Gotta show some love.
as soon as I killed it, you
especially
talked
to
about
the
it.
merch. It's all good.
That's right. So there you go.
There's the hoodies right there. We got the famous "Get in Trouble at Work" "Trans Kids Don't Exist" shirt right there. My personal favorite, the Brutal American Teddy Roosevelt one. We got the new Bull Moose, the pimped out Bullwinkle. We got look at all these. The OG, you got the G Dubs.
Gotta love it, dude.
Absolutely.
And of course,
Good stuff.
citizenship
Sent
is
out
not
really
passive.
fast. American owned. There you go. Good stuff. Appreciate that, man. Nate, like I said at the top, man, we appreciate you coming on the show to hang out. I know we're going to talk America first. I really dig the tank top that you have. I saw that you also sold out of them your first time, which is dope. Congrats to you
my
for
first. They sell out. We're on our fifth restock. They sell out pretty much every 24 hours of like 200 items every time we do it. So
that. That's badass, man. Good for you.
it's been a good choice of my buddy actually that does the artwork is another first group dude.
Hell yeah.
Very nice,
So,
man. Vets
do you-
helping vets.
No, we'll talk offline. I don't want to.
I was just gonna
someone
say.
that
Blow
doesn't
somebody
want
up.
their name used probably because he's still
Probably.
in. So never mind. But
Fair enough.
Well,
Well,
if
dude,
that's-
I
then I
know a lot
probably
of your
do.
chatters are in here, man, but a lot of our guys don't know who you are. So I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and what your channel is all about for our audience.
sure. Nate, retired Green Beret, First Special Forces Group. Did little over 10 years, 2 months in Army Special Forces. Now I got a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel has it's
Crazy
drastically
success, dude.
changed over the years, or not years. That's only 2 years old. Started with firearms content, got into special operations content, vet bro content. Now I do mostly current events, political, military, some special operations stuff. There's just not that much going on in military news right now. It's part of the problem.
That's true.
But
You
yeah,
got
so
done, you got done taking down Tim Kennedy and Rob O'Neill, and then you were like, and Alexander wept for there were no more worlds to conquer. So then you're like, I guess
there was
I'll
really
move into
nothing else to
political
do,
realm.
I guess. That was never the intent of the channel. It was more, and I actually didn't take down Rob O'Neill. I've done zero. People think that I was involved in Rob O'Neill. I've done zero content on Rob O'Neill. That's all Brent and the anti-hero guys. Tim Kennedy, however, there was that, but there's not really any Green Berets committing stolen valor on the internet anymore. So
That's good.
That's what we like. We like that.
Yeah,
Let's let the SEALs take the spotlight again. You guys go back to the front.
Exactly. and that's back to now we have Navy SEALs suing people and all that going on in the vet bro world. So yeah, I'm out of that space now because we've moved on to hopefully bigger and better things, man. So that's me, and so excited to be here, guys.
Nice, man. Well, when Chris and I talked about inviting you on, it was really because we saw you kind of coming out hard with the America First thing, and really, I think everybody in this space has been talking about America First, and sort of after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and really the front runner here in that conversation, whose channel has really just blown up over the last couple months, is Nick Fuentes. And I know you talk a lot about him. We have too. I think we've talked about him in totally different ways. We definitely don't agree with everything he says on principle, but definitely agree with some of the things he says on sentiment. Right, those are two different things. We make that distinction pretty hard here. So we thought an interesting conversation to have tonight would be to talk about what America First really is to you, and then also what America is. Because if we can't define what our country is, then how are we supposed to defend it and uphold the principles that it was founded on? And at the top of the show, before you came on, I was telling the guys that we had a debate last night with a longtime guest. She is a professor of the Constitution at UVU, where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. She was there when he got shot. But the debate last night we had with her was really this wrestling match that America is having about what the fuck we actually are. And the bigger question we asked was, is the Constitution sufficient enough in these circumstances to provide a solution in time, and how the partisan politics in our country are ruining the country? So that's sort of the question we were grappling with last night. So I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are on that. Is the Constitution sufficient enough in its current form for the exigent circumstances of the moment, to use the words of Abraham Lincoln?
Shit, that's deep, man. I wish I should have been prepared for that. That's super deep. Is the Constitution enough to sort of keep the framework of what America is, based off of what the founding fathers wanted it to be? I would say yes, man. I think it worked for 250 years. Things have changed, mainly in the idea that when we talk, and we'll get into it when we're talking about America First and America Only and America as a culture, I think that's something we're losing. And I'm not going to agree with the Nick Fuentes, we got to be Christian nationalists. I don't subscribe to that side of it. Okay. But I do think that, like, America as American culture, we are losing that. And then we're talking about things like H-1B1 and import millions of Indian workers and Chinese students and Latin America's massive immigration in the United States. These people are not assimilating. They're just not. All right. You're seeing like Dearborn, Michigan. I'm not a big anti-Muslim guy at all. Right.
Minnesota too.
That. But in the same time, these people are not assimilating to American culture, and I believe we're losing what it means to be America, like as a nation, as a society. The left-right divide's not doing well with that. The Christian, Muslim, Judaism, all this fracturing divide is not helping with that. What does it mean to be American now? That's a fucking difficult question. 50 years ago in 1950, it was a lot easier to be like, hey, does the Constitution and the framework still work? Yes. But when you've imported, and I hate to say this, when you've imported the third world, you sort of have become the third world. And then what actually is America? Is America supposed to be a melting pot, but is it really supposed to be a melting pot? Or is
That's
it
the key word there, melting.
Is it supposed to be that like, hey, you come wherever you come from, you come to America and melt in and assimilate with American culture?
Mm-hmm.
That is, I believe, what needs to happen. That's not what's happening. How does the
Totally agree.
Constitution work? I would say, God, I mean, I don't even really know how to answer that. Is the Constitution enough to? Does it need to expand upon it? I don't know. I'm such a fundamentalist when it comes to the Constitution. I don't like the idea of adding things to it because I think the founding fathers got so much right. Give me some context to what you guys
Sure.
were talking about.
So
Well, I
what I
think-
would say to
Go
your
ahead.
to your question, because you said that you believe the Constitution is big enough, and I would agree with you because we have amended the Constitution many times, and we can amend it again. Like this is a function that's baked into the Constitution. And the other thing about the Constitution that is it was kept intentionally short and intentionally unspecific for people like us 250 years later who need to interpret things going on. And then, like I said, we've amended it many times. And this is a conversation we had last night about getting rid of people. And the hot topic, I'll frame it in the conversation we had. I think it might be easier to scope it down, was the question about whether or not it's legal to round up all of the people who are here. What's the actual phraseology that they use? Lawfully present in the United States, and whether or not that violates the Constitution. Her position was that it violates the 14th Amendment. Chris and I's position on that is we don't believe that the due process that she's asking for, which is literally a day in court for everybody, is a sufficient enough solution for getting rid of these people and an expedited way, and that there needs to be some sort of amendment to the Constitution because 20, whatever that number is, let's just say like 10 to 20 million people came into this country over the last 4 years, which is several other countries around the world. No economy is built to sustain that, and I think that we haven't even seen the effects of what that's had on America completely yet because it's still so fresh.
When you add together sort of legal immigration and illegal immigration through, H-1B1s, you're looking at like 70 million people.
Right.
And that all of a sudden becomes, when it taxes everything. It taxes the welfare system. It taxes the economy. When you input that many people into a society, it's going to raise prices. It's going to lower the supply of homes, of apartments, which is going to jack up the cost of everything. So I think and again, even though I'm very anti-Trump right now, not because I'm anti-Trump. I just talked about this. I want Trump to do well. I just want Trump to get back to American first policies. I have nothing inherently against Trump. I like Trump in his first term. I just think he's not carrying out exactly what we're talking about. Where's the mass deportations? Like,
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah,
Because
go ahead.
we always call balls and strikes here, right? And so sometimes it's hard because it's like we jump on at 10 p.m. at night over on the East Coast, right? But because we're behind enemy lines over here with you on the left side of the United States, so it's like we burn the midnight oil. But it's like when Trump does good thing, I always like to say, hey, Trump did very good thing. And right before we jumped on tonight, he moved to remove protected, what do they call it? The special protected status or whatever of all the Somalis in Minnesota based on the legal case that's now working its way through. And I think there's over 270 now that are being brought up on charges of welfare fraud and funneling money to Al-Shabaab. So Donald Trump was like, okay, well, special protected status gone for this entire community. I think that's a good move. So good job, Trump. That's good. We like that.
Yeah, and this is where, I have a very diverse audience on my channel. We've done the metrics on it and done polling. I mean, I have everywhere from far left socialists, liberals, moderates, MAGA, far right, groypers. We got everything on my channel because I try to do the same thing you guys do, where it's like, look, man, I'm just calling balls and strike based off of what you're doing with policy. I really don't care. For me, look, I don't like all politicians start at if we're like on a 1 to 10, how well you're doing, every single politician for me starts at -10.
I agree with that sentiment.
They're all
you're
bad.
A politician,
inherently, right? They're all bad because they're politicians. So for me, it's like, I'm not a type of guy when you see like, and it's Democrats and Republicans, right? That's just like, will fawn over Joe Biden no matter what he does, or fawn over Trump no matter what he does. Like, sorry, man. Like, I don't think the guy in charge is cool. Like that, I don't. It's like
Right.
being in high school and be like, man, the principal's so dope. No, he's the fucking guy in charge.
Fuck
Like,
no, dude.
fuck
I
no.
always,
You know what I mean? What are you doing for us?
Right.
That's what I care about. And if your policies are dog shit and you're doing things like sending 40 billion to Ukraine or to Argentina and then bringing Al Jilani into the White House and like
Yes.
giving Saudi Arabia F-35s, I'm
On
gonna
Veterans
go,
Day.
hey, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
This is like it doesn't have anything to do with who he is. I don't really like who he is in general, but I don't care because I've had, like you guys have had, amazing leaders that are horrible people. Like that's the military in a lot of ways. Some of the worst fucking people that I know have been great military leaders, right? So
Well,
I don't really care about who you are as a person. I do when it comes to like pedophilia and shit. Like we should put some. We should put some.
Yeah. No, I get what
because
you
now
mean.
we have to talk about that now.
Yeah.
Of like, no, I mean like not that. So like I'm not okay with that.
Right.
But like you're a shitty person. Like Bill Clinton was a shitty person, but he actually did pretty well on a lot of policies. Like he balanced the budget, right? So
Blew us up in NAFTA though.
yeah, well, he's also fucked a lot of things up too. But my point is with like the
Well, just fuck
me
a lot of
being
things in general.
critical of Trump, a lot of people will be like, Nate's a liberal, and I'm like, no, I'm actually further right than you are, MAGA. And when it comes to things like immigration, I agree with you guys on this. I think that is the biggest problem right now in America for so many different reasons. And to your guys' point, like we are not deporting. Like how many have we really deported? I think the real numbers are around 300,000 to 400,000 that aren't self-deporting.
Yeah.
What is that going to be over 4 years? 1.2 million people when we let 20 million in, and that's just illegal. That's not with the problems with all the legal H-1B stuff. So that's got to get that's got to get. But how do you amp that up in a way that's like? Because I look at ICE and I'm like, hey man, maybe let's not fucking go grab kids from schools and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, hey, maybe we can focus on like the gang members and like the areas that are problems. You know what I mean? So there's like
don't
this
tell me you
dichotomy.
can't find them, because if we can find Terrys in the caves of Afghanistan, like we can absolutely find these guys that are bumming around the streets of the United States.
Or how hard they went after J6ers.
Yeah. You can find anybody, and I know you can because you brought in Elon Musk and Palantir to Doge and set up Palantir that now has a database on every single American, including all the illegals. You know where all of them are by name and where they live.
Oh, yeah. So Boomer threatened it when LA was rioting. She was like, "Yo, don't tell me you don't want to see Palantir's new toys going into effect right now." Yeah,
yeah.
What do you?
I mean, we used it in the military, right? Like we use Palantir. We know what it can do. You can't fool me. Like we found terrorists with it. So
hey,
to your guys' point,
want to play a game? That's all.
Old Jigsaw.
Well, I kind of want to go back to something you said before about the whole concept of a melting pot, and I think that. Because that's such a problem, we're having this conversation. Does that make sense? Like that, everything we're seeing right now is downstream from the failure to assimilate. And then also from the people who are generational Americans, a lack of appreciation due to entitlement. Like I think that that's a reality too. I think that the liberal psyop over the past 20 years created an entire generation of Americans, specifically millennials. I put a lot of this on, who hate the United States and what it stands for. They've inherently been taught that the founding fathers are white racist slave owners and that's it. And so much now that, they've told a whole nother generation of people in Gen Z and Gen Alpha that you are inherently bad because of the immutable characteristic you hold, which is typically male and white. And so now you get where we're at right now. So
now you get Nick Fuentes.
Now you get Nick
This
Fuentes.
is how you get Nick Fuentes, is exactly what you just described. It's also how you get Zoran Mamdani. Is because he's disenfranchised and told all these young people that they're the fucking problem and the economy is terrible for them. Because the economy, this is what's such a split, is wealthy people think the economy is great right now.
Of course.
And young people are coming out of college that can't get a job because the labor market's the worst it's been in 20 years, are like, hey, economy's not good. Like I can't afford my rent and I can't find a job with a master's degree. And so how do you get fascism? How do you get socialism? How do you get all these things in a young generation? It's exactly what you're describing, is like calling these young kids the problem, especially young white men. We've been telling young white men they're the problem for 20 years.
Right.
And why do you think Nick Fuentes is the most popular? And again, I don't agree with a lot of what Nick says, but my point with Nick is he is the most powerful and most popular person in young male conservative politics, and it's not even fucking close. And so if you're not paying attention to that and asking yourself why, well, you're kind of missing the fucking boat, because he's going to control that demographic going forward regardless. So
Mm.
if you want to build a coalition, this is my thing with Republicans and MAGA. What I think is so dumb right now is if you think you're going to win an election against the Democrats, who are great at actually building a coalition, and then you're going to tell America first and all these young Gen Z males like, fuck you guys. Good luck, man. Hope you guys are ready for Gavin Newsom.
Dude, we've been saying
That's
this.
what's
I've been
coming.
beating the drum on this for the last 2 weeks, and that is like you need to come to grips with the fact that there is a such thing as a Trump/Mamdani voter, and
Mhm.
if you don't figure that the hell out, like you're going to be sunk. And I'm not saying he's right. I'm not arguing for either side. What I'm saying is there's a group of people out there, like you were just saying,
It's
that
because
on
things
one
are so
side
bad.
we're like,
Yep.
all right, I'm going to give this Trump guy things are bad enough that I'll
That's
give
exactly
him a
why
try.
Trump got elected.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And then turned around and it's been a year and they're like, I still can't afford my rent. Grocery prices are going up. Gas prices are going up. I can't afford to buy a house. I'm never going to be able to afford to buy a house. And then to hear Trump turn around and go, well, best I can do is 50-year mortgages. All right, I guess I'll give this socialism
Bro.
thing a try now. That's what they did.
No, it's
And that's
it's
what
true.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brandon.
No, you're good. I was just going to say you're right that he is the most influential voice in the conservative movement for young men right now. But what's crazy is he's really not that conservative. He is mostly a progressive, which really supports the point you're trying to make here, that the traditional parties of the United States, the Democrat and Republican Party, or the liberal and conservative movements, have failed, and people
Yeah.
are now exploring. When you hear him talk, and we have some video we can pull up if you want. We don't have to, just so we don't take Nick's words out of context. But
Well, he's a national socialist. You got to understand, like that's his real policies.
That's exactly the point I'm trying to make.
Ding,
He's not
ding,
conservative.
ding, ding,
He's
ding.
not conservative at all. And it's weird too, because like the other day he sort of was making he was making the case for regime change in Israel, which is total neocon thing to do.
Yeah,
But then
he does
the
that.
other
He
half,
did that with Venezuela too. And I'm like,
Right.
you don't know jack shit of what you're talking about foreign policy wise, homie.
Exactly. Which that's why
He's a 27-year-old kid. That's like I'm not expecting him to get everything right either.
I'm not expecting him to get everything right, but what I think is the most interesting thing is what you said about how he's the voice of the young conservative movement when he does not represent traditional conservative values, which is kind of wild. It's the Overton window on the right half of the political spectrum being shifted even further than it was even just a year ago. And another thing that Chris and I talk about a lot on the show here is horseshoe theory. They're moving into one another. They share,
the populist left and the populist right.
correct. They share
right here.
so many different things in common with one another that when they talk about things like this, like you said, National Socialism, asking to unite. Well, you're asking not to unite with like the traditional classical liberal left. You're asking to unite with the very far progressive left because you are so far progressive. It's almost like you don't think or he doesn't realize what he is, I guess, if that makes sense.
You know what a perfect example of this is, Brandon? The Thomas Matthew Crooks, right? Which we did a whole expose
Exactly.
on. And then Tucker just blew the lid off of his political arc online, the things that he said in the comments that he was making. And it's like, you watch this dude, he swung from the far right where he was talking about taking a gun and killing all illegals and blah, 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 and whatever he was saying, super far right fascist stuff. And then all of a sudden he reemerges like a few weeks after that. And he's talking about killing Trump and taking out all these MAGA guys. And he just jumped over the top of that horseshoe and just stayed in the political fringes of radicalism.
Yep.
And it was like, there it is. There's a case study.
I think the problem here, though, is if you take, I would say this: who is representing traditional conservatism?
Nobody,
because it's not Mark Levine. It's not Ben Shapiro.
Oh God,
you know what I mean? It's
I think he is. I think Ben Shapiro is as annoying to me as Nick Fuentes, and probably more annoying, quite honestly, because of his strict adherence to a completely Israel first policy.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro. I mean, I've never been a fan of Ben Shapiro. The guys that watch the show know this because I say that all the time. Everything about him to me is annoying as fuck. But he's a retard. Also, I can't. No, he does not represent the conservative movement. I don't think anybody has. Name me a president in the last 40 years that was truly conservative.
I mean, the most conservative president. Like I would. You have to go back to like JFK and be like, if we were to bring JFK to
Democrat
today, he would be more conservative than anybody we have in conservative politics. So, but to my point, though, is you have, let's talk about like the moderate right and the moderate left. Well, the moderate right is not conservative and the moderate left is not liberal. It's all neocons. It's all centrist. It's all oligarchists, right? So this is why the fringes, to your point, on the right and the left find so much in common now, because they're like, hey, well, we don't agree on everything, but at least we're America first because we want to do something that's better beneficial to America. Like, in what way do you enact that? Like, again, is National Socialism the way? Well, I don't know. Is communism the way? It doesn't really work out a lot of places, but at the same time, I can look, I can look at the wealth of billionaires right now and go, this isn't actually how it's ever been in America ever. If you go back, this all started during the Occupy Wall Street movement, where people realized, like, wait a second, why the fuck do billionaires have so much money? And then all of a sudden, billionaires tricked everybody and incited all the race riots and left and right divide against everybody. And all of a sudden, politics were like, hey, we all hate the other side. If you watch debates from like the 90s between Republicans and Democrats, you're like, well, this is so nice. Everybody's so friendly and everybody's friends and like everybody gets along and like they're making deals across the aisle. And then you get to where all of a sudden, right, billionaires start to accumulate all this crazy wealth. If you look at the wealth of, let's say, go back to 2010 of Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, I mean, they're worth like 10 billion, 15 billion, 20 billion, and they've like 40x'd. Some of them are like 30 to 40x their wealth in 15 years. Well, guess what? The rest of the country looks at that and goes, I mean, if you've seen the graphs of the actual wealth disparity over the last 10 years, it's straight vertical, right? Where it used to be.
It really went that way during COVID too, because those 4 years of COVID was the greatest transfer of wealth in human history.
And you want to say, and they want to tell you, oh, well, America, look at capitalism. I'm like, motherfucker, that ain't capitalism. We're not this is my big thing with America is where like people are like, well, we're a capitalist. No, we're fucking not. This is not a capitalist system. We're in a socialist oligarchy. To where all of us in the bottom 90%,
technocracy, I'd say,
fucking pay socialist level taxes, and the billionaires accrue all the fucking wealth and pay no taxes.
Can I
not no taxes relatively, right? Like they still do pay the majority of the taxes, but as a percentage. And if you go back to like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and you want to talk about the relative tax rate, we taxed the fuck out of everybody that was rich. That like this has been the way it was in America for 200 years up until just recently, and we got the wool pulled over our eyes. And so when people are like, oh, well, we can't be socialist, I'm like, I'm not asking what I'm not at, and I'll get can I get a little bit in my tax plan here? Yeah. When I talk about, I'm not asking for socialism. I would say anybody making under $100,000 a year, don't tax them at all. And why do I say that? Because they're not paying jack shit in taxes anyway. The wealthy people pay all the taxes anyway, right? So let's say, hey, let's lower the tax rate on lower and middle income people so they can fucking afford to live. And raise it on fucking billionaires and a relative tax rate. Why? Because, hey, Elon Musk now has more wealth than the bottom 52% of Americans fucking combined. One person. So you might call me a communist for saying that's a problem. But my view is, hey, I don't want you, everyone in this chat, I don't want you to pay fucking 35% of your taxes because you can't afford to fucking live. And I think that's kind of the discussion that needs to start happening is like capitalism for who? Because I think that's not really where we're at in America anymore. It's not capitalism for us sitting here.
Well, no, and we've seen examples of that. Even over the last 16 years, right? I mean, the housing crisis in 2008, the government picked winners and losers, and it picked all of the Americans who lost their homes. They were the losers, and these private equity firms were the ones who won. But when you said that you're talking about the wealth disparity, so I'm going to push back on that a little bit, but it's really going to support your point, right? With some American history. So the last time the wealth discrepancy here was this bad was actually the Gilded Age, which is another period of time where there also was a wide margin between people who were generationally American and immigrants here in the United States. So that wealth discrepancy and then also the amount of immigrants that were coming into the country mirrors a lot of what we're seeing here. Obviously, the circumstances were different over the last 4 years because we had a wide open border, and most of what happened then, some of the laws that we have today didn't exist then, and then also there was a lot more actual immigration coming from Europe, and then the difference too with people actually wanting to be American when they came here. But the other half of it too is that a lot of the same political movements that we see today, especially the approach of populism and its focus on just people and not the actual system, was a major tenet of the Gilded Age and the politicians that came out of the Gilded Age. And so if there was an era of time of American history where you could point out and say, well, what was the result of the Gilded Age? Well, it led to presidents like Teddy Roosevelt, who did all the trust busting, who focused and tried to harness and read back in what conservatism look like in involving the going after of businesses and the way that they were corrupt and the way that they dealt with wages and the way that they dealt with labor. You're seeing a lot of the same things, and it's relevant too
Yeah,
because
true.
Teddy Roosevelt stepped outside of what the Constitution said and basically used more of his executive power, much the same way as so many other presidents have over the past couple of years, because Congress is so weak. Barack Obama did the same thing where he said, if Congress is not going to act, I am going to act. Joe Biden did a lot of the same thing. Donald Trump has done a lot of the
Trump's doing
same
it
things.
now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And really the reason why we see this is because Congress is so inefficient is the problem here. And there's the same problem that they were dealing with during the Gilded Age. So we have dealt with this before, and sort of the same thing came out of it was an American appeal to populism and then leaders who appealed to that. And then Teddy Roosevelt trust busting, right? So there is room to have that conversation and a historical precedent for going after business the way you're talking about. And I think you can, because the Constitution is a living, breathing document, you can go after it and stay within the confines of the Constitution because it gives us the ability to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point. And my thing is, like, I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy of like, hey, tax the billionaires 99% of their wealth after whatever, right? I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, while 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, maybe Elon Musk doesn't need $500 billion. I think that's a conversation we can start having, right? Is that, at what point do we say, why does 90% of the wealth need to be held by 10 people? And if people have a problem with that, that's fine. I would just say there's no trickle down, right? This is like the whole Reagan era. It's trickling down. It's not trickling down, homies. Like that. That's, maybe it did in the 80s, right? In the 80s and 90s, it trickled down a little bit, but that's not where we're at. I mean, people are struggling. They're hurting in a way we haven't seen in a long time. Affordability has a lot to do with it, and I'm not blaming this on Trump at all. The inflation, post-COVID inflation, has fucking just raped everybody when it's come to that. The money printer won't turn off. So all of these things are sort of compounding, but I mean, like, the wealth is going straight to one demographic. The middle class is disappearing, right? And pretty much everybody is becoming middle to lower class that's not upper class. And I think it's not sustainable. When we talk about a voting base with 350 million people, you're going to get populism, man. Like to your point.
When you're talking about wealth redistribution, could I ask you to flesh out the mechanism and pathway for how that is a solution in your mind? Does that make sense?
I'm not saying to redistribute it currently, right? I'm saying, look, I'm not going to say we're going to come take your money. What I am going to say is, hey, from now on, the relative tax rate above, let's say, $10 billion, right, is fucking 60% now. It's not 4%. It's not 8%. And why I say that is because, oh, dang it, you made $20 billion this year. You're only going to get 10 of it. Okay, well, you still got $10 billion. You got there's no way you could ever spend $10 billion in your life. You can't do anything with it at that point. And so if I can do that and then lower the tax burden on 90% of America because I increased the billionaire tax rate, the relative tax rate. And again, I'm talking about, hey, like the tax rate, even if you want to do a flat percentage tax rate, whatever, cool, 15%, that's still way fucking more money on the billionaires and it's way less on everybody else. My point with this is that the bottom 70% of Americans pay almost nothing in taxes anyway. I don't mean nothing, not relative to their own paychecks, but relative 100%. To the entire amount of taxes paid. We pay nothing. Like the billionaires and the millionaires already pay all the taxes, right? So lower the burden on the tax on the people where, to my point, if you're making $50,000 a year and you're getting taxed 20%, that's way more brutal than a guy who's making $10 billion a year and getting taxed 50%. See how this relative works?
Well, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm not calling for like, hey, we got a Bernie Sanders and come take your money. I'm not saying that, but something has to change because the trajectory we're on, where Elon Musk is about to be a trillionaire in 4 years, that ain't fucking sustainable for this country economically and for anybody outside of the super wealthy. And I know there's a lot of conservatives that are like, hey, no, we gotta let these billionaires make their money. And it's like, okay, sure. But like our country is going to fucking burn in if something doesn't change, because you're you're going to get Zoran, and you're going to get Newsom, and you're going to get all these. I'm promising you're going to
They
get all these
are
politicians that you don't want,
redistributionists.
and they'll do
Yeah.
it themselves, right?
Yeah.
So
They are
I think
redistributionists,
to
yeah.
your point, I think you could go a long way to a plan like yours just by removing the tax loopholes that
that too, sure.
that they enjoy before you even start
Yeah.
raising, because people don't realize the type of loopholes that they enjoy.
Oh, it's
Right.
insane.
And
Yeah.
Trump talked about it back during his debate, I think, with Hillary Clinton back during 2016. And he was on
Yep.
stage just being forthright about it. And he goes, you know, I've
Right.
showed you my taxes. And he goes, you would
Yeah.
be surprised what I pay. And he goes, it's because I enjoy all these loopholes and I shouldn't be
I'm
able
just
to,
following the law.
but I
Yeah.
am
Right.
following the law, and they're all doing it too. And they're not
Dave
paying any
Chappelle did a
taxes
bit
either.
about it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, and so that's to my point is like, man, I'm not asking for anything crazy. I'm just saying what really is going to change in anybody's lives, and like in all of America, right? You lower the tax burden on the lower and middle class who are barely paying any taxes anyway, and again, I mean that relative, and you
Mhm.
increase it a little bit on the people that have billions of dollars. Is that really that unreasonable of a way forward? Because to my point, you're gonna get Zoran, you're gonna get Fuentes, you're gonna get Sanders, you're gonna get AOC. Like, and I'm trying to tell Republicans that just don't want to wake up. The more you put your head in your sand and you're like, everything's fucking great, like 2026 is coming and you're gonna get skull fucked, and 2028 is coming and you're gonna get skull fucked. And do you think any of us want a Gavin Newsom presidency with a Democrat controlled Congress? Because that's coming, boys. And I promise you it's coming. And if you don't want to push back and you don't want to try to figure some things out and and I'm not saying you guys, I'm just saying
Yeah, you're proverbially.
just Republicans in general, right? Like it's exactly what Democrats did under Biden is they went, nope, everything's great. Everything's great. Everything's great. And they got fucking landslided. Right. And so it's that pendulum is going to swing back the other way if we don't start trying to actually affordability, economy, labor market. These are all things that everyday Americans are hurting on and they care about.
I think some of the other things to explore would be cutting the red tape in private business for the average American. Like there should be, well, let me say this. I agree with you about taxes on people who make a certain percentage a year. I think also like property taxes and things like that are horseshit. Like I live out here in California. I am a homeowner in the state of California. Thankfully, I'm a veteran. I don't get hit as hard as some people, but it's still like even I'll take it
it's
even
Oregon
further.
too.
Right. And in California, for every gallon of gas, it is a 98% tax. So basically, whatever the gallon of gas cost is in the United States, it will be at a minimum $1 more expensive here in California.
I got to stop you because I'm looking at your chat, and I don't want to call your chat fucking retards, but Colts Walker here is going, he sounds like a liberal Democrat. Think about this. I'm advocating for less taxes on you, and you're calling me a liberal Democrat. Are you fucking retarded? I'm calling for less taxes. Do you understand what liberals want? They want more taxes to your government. Use your fucking brain a little bit, guy. Anyway.
Yeah, less taxes would be more conservative, that's for sure. But the other thing I was going to say is the government and the way it's involved in private business, and then also the way it's involved in agriculture here in the United States, and then the support that private equity gets here in the United States. I think that those three things are some of the biggest eroders to the middle class completely and totally. I don't think the government should have anything to do if you and I have a business, or I'm going to offer you money for a service that you're providing me. When we transact, the government doesn't need to be involved in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not just talking about taxes. I'm talking about paperwork. I'm talking about the sort of way that they gauge your competency based on the money that you funnel into the process to become a business owner. I would say you should bring back something more aligned with like a guild, so to speak, where if you are, let's just say you are a master mason, and in your region there are other master masons, you can verify the competency of somebody else for them to be able to be conducting business without the government coming in and saying, here's a license.
Yeah.
Like this is something that happens in other countries and has happened throughout history. So like I'm all for having a conversation about tax law and lowering costs for Americans that way. But I think the other thing with it too is making it easier for Americans to box the government out by removing some of the obstacles to owning your own business, removing the obstacles to purchasing and holding a home, removing the obstacle of people
Yeah.
who are coming to this country and get preferential treatment. I talk about this a lot. Again, here in California, you probably see the same thing in Oregon, dude, where people who come here, immigrate here, their kids and them, they get better treatment than our kids and my family does. I had to fight for my son to go to an elementary school here in the state of California because he was basically going to be waitlisted due to the amount of immigrants the county I live in here in California had to sustain. So what I'm saying here is make it, and then stop purchasing shit that we can make here in the United States or grow here in the United States, and let American farmers do the fucking job that they've been doing so damn well for the past 250 years. And let's focus on some of those things that put, like you said, money back in the pocket of the human being here in the United States, but also put some of that actual liberty back on their plate and the individual responsibility that so many people would rather have. Because if you can box the government out and do certain things, you don't need them, and they would naturally shrink because of that. There's no need for the bloat when you can do something on your own. And that was the whole point to begin with.
Well, the government is the largest
100%.
employer in the United States.
Yep,
by far, bar none.
Yeah. I think Walmart's the next closest, but yeah.
That's crazy. Walmart.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But to your point, you guys know it's easier. There's less red tape. There's less cost, less everything to opening a business in China than there is in the United States. It's far easier to purchase a home than in China than it is in the United States. Like, all of these things we don't think about when we're talking about what you're talking about with government involvement and all this shit that just does not need to be there. And I live in a farming community here, farming and ranching community. And like, these dudes are fucking also struggling. I mean, like, my buddy who owns a massive farm out here, like, he tells me, he was like, man, we are always 1 year away from complete bankruptcy. Like, every farmer out here. And a big part of that is they're dealing with competition with foreign countries. Things like what just happened in Argentina, right? Our cattle farmers are getting fucking hosed from things like that. I mean, soybean farmers, like, all these things are happening, to your point of, and that's, you're talking about just America first policy right out the gate. Everything you're saying is 100% America first. And again, I'm not saying we're going to solve all the problems by changing the tax code. I don't believe that.
I was just building on your idea, right?
Yeah, but I mean, my point is, something has to change. We are on an unsustainable path that will lead, I promise y'all, will lead to hardcore socialism. It's like we talked about. There's no other way for this to happen. The young people are so disenfranchised right now. I mean, I finished my master's degree last summer, and I mean, luckily I'm retired out of the military, right? And I'm like, I run a business. I'm not looking for work, But all the other students I would talk to all of them as, like, we were getting ready to graduate, and they're like, yeah, I put in like 40, I put in like 40 applications, and I haven't heard back from anybody. And that's like every single fucking student I talk to, and that's a business degree, like an MBA, which is like that's like one of the easiest, like, employment paths out of college. And almost every single one of them is like, man, it's almost impossible for me to find anybody that's even hiring. And when you compound the fact, which I'm sure you guys have talked about, this movement forward with AI and robotics and everything, like, it's gonna get uglier and uglier and uglier for the workforce as we move forward, and high skill labor too. And what do we do with that way forward, right? If, like, we're not doing any manufacturing in America anymore, we're in this AI weird, like, push forward tech bubble. That seems unsustainable as well. It seems like that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either, because what do we do 10 years from now when we replace half the workforce? I'm not sure, but to my point, man, is, and we've seen it, and it's not just America. Look at the Middle East, man. Look at it. Look at how, like, the formation of ISIS. Why is that? Well, we create vacuums where we disenfranchise an entire generation of young men, and what do? They get radicalized. What do you think is going to happen here with these young American men that don't have opportunities? They're going to get radicalized, and they're going to turn to something. They're going to turn to Fuentes or Mamdani. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but, like, that's where the future's headed, and it's not where I want it to go, personally.
Can I say two things real fast? One thing about your China housing market thing, and then the other one about your point about the youth. Like, we're going to talk later about Al Shabaab because we're going to talk about Minnesota and what's going on there with the Somali community. But
Yeah,
Al Shabaab began as a political movement in the Horn of Africa, specifically like Kenya, Djibouti, Somalia. It literally means the youth, and
yep,
it was co-opted by Muslim extremists into something that it is today. And it
Mhm.
was a political movement to try and better the region of the Horn of Africa that got co opted in a way that you're describing. So there's a precedent for what you're saying that leads to very violent extremism. And we'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about it later.
it's
But the
happening in Mexico right now. It's the Gen Z revolution. That's the
right,
name of the revolution.
right. Well, the point you made about like China and owning a home, the thing I would say about that is the idea that it's like easier to own a house there in China. I think when you look at their housing crisis, many of the Chinese cities, people are paying for mortgages or pre-construction apartments that have never been finished. They have an entire
That's
ghost
true.
city problem
Yeah,
with Evergrande and
yeah,
shoot,
yeah.
there's a
That
country
hole was a shit
garden.
show. Yeah.
Right. So for about 47% of the home ownership in China are people that, yeah, they own a home, but they own literally nothing
Well, they own
because they're
90% of Chinese people own a home.
well, what I'm saying is
90%. Yeah.
47% of home
Yeah. No.
ownership
Yeah.
there,
I know. I know what you're saying.
yeah. So yeah. So I mean, and then too, when you look at the way that the CCP funnels money into local governments who go and buy property in China, then they build on that land to just increase the property value of that land. They sell it back to the government at a higher rate. And then this is just like this weird money laundering, triad essentially where money goes nowhere. And because of all the debt they have from stealing money from people and then it going into absolutely nothing and then building on things that nobody is going to actually live in, there's like a debt ratio to
Yeah.
actual ownership ratio that they're never going to be able to come out of. So like the housing crisis that they endure there in China is probably 10 times worse than what we did here in the United States because of the way their banking system is set up there.
Well. No, we just have a different system, which is that we have corporations buying up the entire housing market. You got Blackstone, you got
No,
BlackRock. Everybody's
that may be
buying up
true, but
everything. You know the average age? What's the average age of a home buyer right now?
I think it's
First
something like
time home buyer?
39 or something like that.
No,
It's
not
pretty-
first
it's
time.
pretty
The
high.
average age of someone purchasing a home in America
Well,
right now.
I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to push back on your statement prior to and say when half of the people who own a home in China own absolutely nothing, I think it's very well within the confines here to say that it's 10 times worse because that's the problem here in the United States is monumental, but the people who live here in the United
Well,
States that own
what
a home,
percentage of Americans own homes?
I'm not sure what that number is, but at least there isn't a massive amount of Americans who pay a mortgage for absolutely nothing.
No, but
That's
there's a
not a
massive
thing in the
amount of
United States.
Americans who pay a rent that they can't fucking afford because all of the housing has been bought up by corporations like Blackstone and BlackRock.
Well, I'm not
The
saying
average
that
the average
I'm not
age
saying
of
the
a
thing
home
we have
buyer
in the United States isn't bad. What I'm saying is that
it's
it's
60
worse
years
in
old,
China.
bro. It's 60 years old.
I'll have to. That's a big problem. I'm not saying the problem here. There isn't a problem in the United States. I'm saying the model of essentially money laundering through three different
I'm
groups of
not
people
saying
in
it's
China.
good in China. I'm saying
I'm saying
it's
it's
just
worse
as
in
fucking
China. Is
bad
what I'm
here.
it's worse in China. Owning nothing and paying for nothing is exponentially worse than having something tangible and paying for it, even if it needs to be worked on and it is way more expensive. Like if I told you, you now owe me money for no fucking reason, and if I said you owe me money for something that you have in your possession, right? Like which of those would you rather be in that situation with? Would you rather be in a situation where you're paying for absolutely nothing and your life savings was co-opted by a local government? Or would you rather work on reducing the property taxes you have through the system we have here in the United States, but you actually have a home? Which would you rather have?
Well, I mean, I would say that you don't get to own anything. Most people don't get to own anything in the United States. It's not even available.
But these people have a home is the point I'm making. I think like
All Americans own homes?
That's not what I said. You're conflating what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the problem of owning nothing and paying a mortgage on absolutely nothing is worse than paying a mortgage for a house.
I get what you're saying. You're trying to make the argument that China's worse than America. Cool, man. I'm saying both are fucked.
No, I agree with you that they're both fucked. When I said
So
that it was worse
I
in
think
China,
it's a non sequitur to be like, which one's worse? I don't give a fuck. I live in America. I don't give a fuck about it, which one's worse. I'd say America's fucking dog shit. The housing market's fucking abysmal. The
I mean, I
average
agree.
first time home buyer is like 40 years old now. The average home buyer is
I thought
60
you just
years old.
oh, average
First
home buyer.
time is
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
it used to be, you know, when our parents were kids, it was like 24, 28, I believe. Or even no, I believe 20 years ago it was 28. And now it's 40 for first time. And the average home buyer is 60 years old in the United States. So my point with that is I don't give a fuck about China's housing market, bro. I don't care. Is it worse? Cool. Yeah, sure. My point is America's housing market is fucked. And young people are never going to be able to afford to buy a home. So
Well, the
that's
reason
what I'm
why I
concerned
gave you
with.
that information is because you gave the statistic that 90% of people in China own a home, and you painted that in a positive light as if that was better than the United States. And I said that
I put
half of
it in
that,
air quotes when I said it.
well, I don't remember you putting it in air quotes. I was just trying to say that that comes off as
Obviously,
misleading.
90% of people in China, it's communist China. Fucking most of
Right.
them are working in sweatshops.
I just
I'm
want to
just
make that
saying,
distinction.
that's
Yeah.
China's
I don't-
housing market.
I do understand where you're both coming from, though, because Tim, do you remember Tim Walz, right? The cum guzzler himself. He tried to come out and make this
Horse cum.
state that right. Well,
Mhm.
allegedly,
Maybe both. You're right.
That's
I
ignorant.
should concede that.
But
It could be more both.
he actually tried to make the same distinction when he was talking about the economy. I think it was either coming out of COVID or under Biden, where he was talking about how much economic activity was happening, and he was like, "Look at all this economic activity," as if just dollars changing hands equates to like a rising GDP or whatever.
Brandon, I don't give a fuck about China.
What?
Do you not see my shirt?
Huh?
I didn't say anything else.
Up on screen. He doesn't get the point. You don't understand China's fucking house. I don't give a fuck about China.
Oh, Brandon.
I care about America.
Brandon in the chats, not you, Brandon.
Not you, Brandon. Brandon in the chat. You put the comment up
okay.
on the screen. It was a Brandon on the screen.
I've just
Nate
put
just
comments
doesn't
up on the
understand
screen.
what's going on. Which I don't give a fuck about China's or their housing market. I care about America and the problems in America. I don't care about the comparatives. I don't give a fuck if it's easier or worse or harder to buy a house in China. I give a fuck that the average fucking purchaser of a home in America is 60 years old. I give a fuck that Americans can't afford anything. I give a fuck that our youth and my kids are fucked. Their future is fucked right now. That's what I care about. It makes me think
of that scene from Rudy when he's a college student standing out front of that house in Indiana with his 20-year-old girlfriend, and they're talking about buying that home on his one salary at the smelting factory or whatever the fuck his family works at there in Indiana. Like, you'd never see that in the United States today, to your point, right? Like that scene in that movie doesn't exist anymore. You cannot own a home like that.
Since we're heading into Christmas, people bring it up all the time. They put up Kevin McAllister's house, and they're like, "What the hell did Mr. McAllister do that they were living here?" And yet you go back
paying for a whole trip to France.
But you're like, you go back and you watch it, and you go, "But wait a second, his mom didn't work." So Kevin McAllister's dad was rolling in that by himself as the single earner, and they were just like, "Hey, this is Middle America, and we're going to fly to France as a family," you know. And it's all well and
Chicago.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I see where you're. I wanted to say one more thing, Nate.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I see your point though in the private equity problem, and Brandon and I have talked about that quite a bit too, of whether it's the government, like in the China reference that we were talking about, or it's BlackRock here in the United States. Either way, that is terrible.
Vanguard.
And the fact that BlackRock and Vanguard now own the majority of property in the United States. Bill Gates owns the majority of farmland in the United States.
Yeah, that's probably not good.
Person, right?
It's like 15% that they own. Just want to be factual, but it's a large number.
Accuracy matters, and I appreciate that. But I'm just agreeing with you on that point where it's like whether it's the government on one side or whether it's private equity on the other, you are essentially a serf.
Yeah, it's neo-feudalism. It's exactly
that's exactly what we're in right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's. Have you ever read? You might find it interesting, Nate. There's an essay that I had Chris read. We talk about it pretty often here. It's called "The Dark Enlightenment." It's by a guy named Nick Land. Have you ever read that? You'd probably find it pretty interesting because it taps into a lot of what you talk about. So Nick describes this perfect world where a country is run like a business, where a CEO is who runs the country, and then he has a board, but the CEO essentially makes the final call on everything. And he describes this very like Orwellian or Huxleyan society where more like Aldous Huxley, but technology runs everything. And you are constantly observed,
man.
And he runs you through this scenario and basically says that the ultimate form of governance is what a business is, And the way he describes it is you own absolutely nothing. Everything you have is given to you because
Yeah.
the CEO makes the decision that best keeps the country or the business alive, and you are expendable as a person. And what you're talking about is, and what Nick Land is talking about in that essay is actually happening, where you, Nate, and you, Chris, and me, and everybody in the chat is expendable to something like private equity when Obama picks the winners and losers in the housing crisis, and the losers were the average American citizen. And then Trump says, well, we're going to go ahead and say, yeah, let's do 50-year mortgages and bring in 600,000 Chinese students. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
the person that gets put last is the American citizen who has been here for generations, whose grandparent and parent and great-grandparents fought, died, bled, built this country. And you're basically saying that that person coming in as an immigrant is more American than you because of the fact that they're just an immigrant. And that's horseshit. And if there is no model in the world where you put somebody who is brand new, ask me, like, I'm not special forces like you guys, but do the new guys that join the team get treated like they're more important than you guys that have already been there? Right? No.
Yeah, no.
And what sense would that make? Because you guys have buy-in.
Dude,
you guys
you
have
could, you
Right.
could go
You know what I
from
mean?
one
Yeah.
team to another team, and guess
Right.
what? You're still starting off at the bottom, dude. I don't care.
that there may be holes in that analogy, but I feel like that's a good analogy.
No,
you know?
it's great, and there's no other country where that happens either, man. Like I'm not going to go immigrate to the UK or Brazil, and they're like, hey, man, thanks for coming. We're going to fucking hook you up, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's not how it works
lifetime
anywhere
supply
else.
of bananas.
Well, Brandon,
Yeah,
I wanted to say too that, like, go back to your entire point that you were just bringing up and look at what Elon Musk said just last week. And by the way, I've been warning people about Elon Musk, like back
good
when all
point, man.
conservatives
Oh, yeah,
were
man.
saying that he was like God's gift to conservatism because he bought Twitter. And hey, I'm glad
He
that he
did
did
do a lot of good with
thing,
that.
and
Yeah,
that's
he did.
good, right? But everybody was like,
Go ahead,
"Oh,
Coach Walker.
he's the next savior," you know what I mean? And I'm like, beware of this guy because he wants to put AI chips in people's heads, and he's into transhumanism and all this stuff. And now, to
Right.
your point, to the technocracy that you just said last week, he goes, "Well, in 10 years, I have a vision that people won't need to work." And if you're not working and you're not contributing to you are literally
I want to talk about that when you're done. Sorry.
Like, you are the pod. And why are they importing all of this third world into the United States? Is because they're easier to control. They're already dependent on the government from the second they get here.
Correct.
And then it undermines right out from under you. And the reason they want to buy all the property, because you own nothing. If you own nothing, you have no reason to contribute to the system. You have no reason to work hard. And then you just become another sucker on the tip, man. And just like line this guy up, plug him in, put his AI on, put him in his chair. He'll watch Ow My Balls and just eat his tub of lard, and he'll be happy forever because that's what they want.
So I want a caveat on that, because what you brought up, what he said the other day, really fucking irked me when he said, in 10 years, you'll get to choose if you want to work, right?
Yeah,
Things like that. Or you know, Klaus Schwab's whole, like, oh, in the future, you'll own nothing. You'll be happy. You won't have to work. Here's my thing, guys, and you guys know this already, man. The biggest thing that plagues men and young men, middle-aged men, and it's what makes us all put a bullet in our mouth, is the lack of purpose, right? We all know it's the biggest thing that happens when guys leave the military. The reason why they eat a bullet is because they can't find purpose. And now what you're going to say is, we're going to take we're going to take all of the populace and take and say what you want. Work isn't fun a lot of the times, but we're going to take away an innate purpose. You're not going to need to work. And to your point, you just sit there on the couch and watch your AI shit and all this. If you take away purpose from an entire generation of young men, you're like, society is just going to be absolutely destroyed. And we've seen it, right? We've seen it in Middle Eastern cultures. We've seen it in
what it looks like in downtown Chicago.
Downtown Chicago, exactly. Everywhere you see where young men do not have opportunity and they don't have purpose, that is what society devolves into every time. And so, to your point,
human beings.
When I hear Elon's in these technocrats say this, I'm like, absolutely fucking not, dude.
You're
like that is the
tisming out
worst
a little
thing.
too hard right now, Elon. Like the tism needs to get turned down, right?
To your guys' point, like that's a horrible idea for society. Is to just, I mean, working's not fun but I mean, it does give you, men need a purpose, man.
Meaning
Whether it's
is
their
in
job,
responsibility.
family. Exactly. And if men don't have it, just young men sitting on a couch, dude. watching porn and playing video games, we all know that's like that ain't it, man, for an entire
That leads to
society.
depression.
You
Yes.
know, to take it back to Dickens, just because I make my kids watch we're big Christmas Carol fans here, and I actually making my son read it
Word.
this Christmas. But Bob Cratchit, and I think everybody knows that character. What type of life was he living? Right? It wasn't good because he was working under the tax collector. He was working under Scrooge. Life absolutely sucked, to your point. But what was his purpose? Was providing for his meager family and taking care of his sick son. Right. And so he was willing to put up with that shit and live a life that just absolutely sucked donkey dick. But because of the purpose, to your point, he was willing to go through all that. He didn't just check out. You know?
Well, it's not about being happy for men. And here's the thing.
Right.
I try to tell men this all the time. When you talk about like just traditional masculinity, no one gives a fuck if you're happy. It's not about me being happy. It's about me providing, protecting, living in acts of service to my family, to my community. Like men get so much more satisfaction out of achieving things like that than they do out of some like individual, like lustful happiness you're going to get out of all the other shit that they're shoving down our throats, you know, video games, pornography, all these different things. Like Brandon said, it always leads to depression. It always leads to those things for young men. So even if it's a shitty job, like I'm telling like a guy that's going and working a shitty 9 to 5 and doing construction, I guarantee you is more like mentally well than the guy who's unemployed sitting on the couch playing video games and smoking weed all day. He just is.
One of my favorite poems is Rudyard Kipling's If, and I'm going to paraphrase a line from If, but he says, if you can meet success and failure and treat those two imposters just the same. And the line of him saying that they are imposters is that success and failure, first off, are perspectives, but they are also both temporary in your life. The pursuit of happiness is not a destination wherein you arrive someplace, just like
great.
Right. Where just like where if you are sad about something, you're angry about something, you have personal agency and you can talk yourself out of feeling that way and you can go and do something, which is why like going to the gym or getting a job or whatever it is you find, like having children is one of the greatest purposes you can have in life, right? Something like that. Everything that you're feeling is an imposter to what the reality is in your life. You can sit there and be butthurt about your circumstances, or you can be really happy about your circumstances. But at the end of the day, the end of the week, or whatever it is, something is going to come along and bump you off whatever that was. And you have to be strong here and have the mental fortitude to understand that you have agency over your emotions in your life. And that's what purpose is. There is meaning and responsibility. And if you can't go out and find that in what you're doing, and anything that you do, then you are a lost person. And the suggestion that you should not work, especially now when there's a whole, and he preaches reindustrialization, which is a fucking crazy dichotomy that you can't reconcile with. You're not going to have to work.
Right.
We need to reindustrialize the United States is insane. Like people like that.
But also Americans aren't skilled enough to work in factories.
That shit pisses me off too, man. Like I hate that crap, bro. I hate that crap.
Which did you guys know this? Because you know when I heard that, and I don't want to do any shots fired to any Indian people in the chat, but like I heard that, and he was like, he was like, oh well, you know, they're just not skilled enough when we're talking about importing, you know, Indian workers. The average IQ of an American citizen, I believe, is about 98. The average IQ of someone in India is 76. So I'm sorry if you tried to explain to me that Americans aren't enough.
He's like muted now.
but like the Indian immigrants are, I'm sorry, like that's not gonna work for me. And also, what did we do in World War II when we needed to bring everybody into this massive manufacturing?
FDR hired William Knudsen,
women who never worked before, brought them into factories, and they were able to learn, right? So this whole thing of like Americans can't learn how to do anything, it's like, bro.
Well, as somebody who works in tech, because that's the biggest sector that he's talking about with these workers, okay, is there are so many people who are overeducated. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that they know their job so fucking well that they're overeducated for the position that they hold. And they're not promoted because these companies know that they would have to pay these people what they're actually worth. And so what they do is they apply for these H-1B visas and they get these workers to come in and they pay them less. And we all know this.
30% discount, baby.
Yeah. But the other half of this, when you're talking about training Americans, is you do have all of these workers who could put on another hat and train everybody else. This training pipeline he's talking about, but then you'd have to pay them to do that. And that's the problem. That's the thing he's not saying, is that we'd have to expect these people that I'm friends with essentially to start paying workers what they're worth to train other Americans to do these things. And then there's the competition with the last 10 years. How many of these little stupid online schools did you see about going and getting a degree in coding or go through this coding boot camp? And now you're
learn to
competing
code.
with AI.
How'd learn to code go?
It's gone. But that's what I'm saying, is there are Americans here who can train you.
Yeah.
These companies just don't want to pay them to do it. So it's easier to hire Ponji down the road who you can pay $60,000 a year rather than paying somebody $130,000 a year to do it. And they're an American.
It's not just work. I mean, this was the craziest thing I learned in my MBA program, because half my fucking instructors were foreigners, like from China and India and all these places. And I'm like, this is kind of weird, right? And then it got explained to me like by one of the other, like the actual PhD tenured professors that was super cool. Actually retired, Michael Crook, actually retired Navy SEAL, who was the CEO of Patagonia, randomly was an instructor there. Oh, wow. And he was explaining it to me. He was like, yeah, well, they pay these foreign professors 40% less than they pay tenured professors. So they just import the shit out of them. They're like, yeah. Well, they don't have to pay, they pay them half as much. So why would they not do that?
Right.
It's like, oh, great. Now I can't understand what my instructor's saying, because like he literally just learned to speak English last year. But hey, at least the university is making 40% more money. And so it's everywhere in society.
Don't you tell me what to do.
Yeah. Well, do not redeem. Yeah, so we got to stop. We're on YouTube. We can't do that.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
Yeah,
that goes back to your point earlier about what capitalism actually is doesn't exist here. Because if that was it, then the government wouldn't allow big businesses to operate the way they do with their assistance, because that's what they do. They enable it. That's not capitalism at all, right?
Yeah,
like it is. To quote one of the other guests we had on here, it is Bernie Sanders' wet dream, the fact that the U.S. government now owns 10% stake in a couple different military industrial complex companies. That's wild, man. Like that's very, very wild.
Yeah, I don't want the government owning majority or minority stakes in anything in the public sector, to be honest. Personally, that's not great. You know?
No.
But that's where we're headed.
Mm-hmm. It's like how much of the allowable amount of actual socialism and crony capitalism are we going to allow before people really say they have enough and use the actual mechanisms in our founding documents to fix that problem? And that's just the extent I'll go with that statement. You know what I mean? Like that's what should happen. There needs a total fucking flush. It's just, we're not going to fix it just by talking about it. Like it's great to raise awareness, but at the end of the day, the thing that Chris and I say most often is citizenship is not passive. And there are way too many people who know who a nationally recognized politician are, but they can't tell you who the fuck is even on the school board in their town, or who makes decision about the property taxes or the Melrose taxes that you pay as a homeowner. Who makes those decisions? How do you know that there are meetings where you can go and attend and vote? Like all of these other things. Like if you don't get involved in that, and I'll say this, having now understanding what it looks like in the county that I live in, and with specifically school, like I was talking about before, it's filled with people who moved here and recognized that, hey, there's a bunch of faces around me that don't look like me. So I'm going to get involved in these spots where these other people are apathetic to it. And then I'm going to dictate terms from the inside, like some sort of fifth column. And then now everybody around here who's lived here for generations is now having to play catch up. That's what's happening. And it fucking sucks because too many people have taken their hand off the wheel.
That's a great point, man.
Well, and if you don't get involved, like your country is going to get taken out from underneath of you. If it's not going to be by the socialists, it's going to be by the Islamists. Because
I was just going to say, look at Dearborn. I mean, that's exactly what happened in Dearborn.
Yep. And they're calling it. What they're saying now, if you listen to what's coming out of the Muslim Brotherhood, their talking points, which good on Greg Abbott for going after them in Texas, is, hey, ballots are our new bullets. Mm-hmm. Vote. That is our new jihad.
Yep. You can win jihad at the ballot box.
Well,
they want your country.
That's actually not new. I mean, you guys know that. I mean, this has gone back to the imams have been saying this in the Middle East for 20, 30 years now, that they've said this, which is, hey, we breed at a rate 5 times what the Westerners do. So what we need to do is we need to infiltrate, right? Whether it be through refugee crisis or however we do it. And then we will outbreed them and we will take over via democracy. I mean, and again, I'm actually not a Islamophobia guy at all, but I mean that is what they say, and you're seeing that happen in Europe. You've seen it happen in France and in Sweden and all these different places. That is the actual goal, and it works, right? It works. If you at Dearborn, Michigan, it's worked, right? They came in, they basically New York City, it's worked. It just worked with Zoran. So
exactly, that's my only point. I'm just pointing out that it's starting to be successful.
I don't have a problem with them doing it. I do from our perspective as Americans, but I mean, from their culture, right? They're doing what's best for them. And here's my thing is it's like everybody does what's best for them outside of Americans, right? So like Jews, Jewish Americans and Jews worldwide do what's best for Jews. And I don't have a problem with that. And Muslims do what is best for Muslims. But it's like you come and in Latin America or the Mexican immigrants, they do what's best for Mexicans in their area. But like in America, or in white America, we're not allowed to do what's best for us. Like we have no cohesion. It's just, to your point, we don't get involved in anything. We're not united on anything. And so that's when I'm talking about American culture at the start of this. That's where this big fracture has fallen apart, because all of these different groups that have immigrated into this country that are now actually working together in their own local communities, which they do, Americans aren't doing. So you could be here generational after generation after generation, but do you know your neighbor? Well, in the Jewish community, they do. In the Muslim community, they do. But do you in the chat? Do you know your next door neighbor? Do you know the neighbor 2 doors down? I bet you don't. And that's a big problem for Americans, I think. You know?
I was just going to say that I think that most Americans have lost interest in doing the things that we're talking about, because the system has become so bloated that it can be put on the back burner and forgotten about. They take everything that we do on a day-to-day basis for granted because of generations of never having to wonder where your next meal is going to come from, because you are so well off. You are way more well off than the majority of the world who has to concern themselves with these things. And these people are coming into this country from some of those experiences where they know they have to work to make something better. And what happens, man? Have you ever gotten into a job before where you see a bunch of people that have been there for a while and they don't give a shit, and you recognize all the work that could get done? And it's just like, man, if I just do my fucking job, I'm going to look like a rock star. And that's what happens. But that's what's happening. Like, I live in a part of California where there's a massive amount of the Sing population, and as well as some of the other groups like that. And they go and they find neighborhoods and they purchase homes for blocks, and then they buy land near those neighborhoods, and then they build temples and stores and all these other things. And it's just like, Americans are like, America fucking sucks and I hate this country. But then you look at these people who just moved here and what they did to essentially isolate their own community because of the mechanisms that exist in the United States. It's like, no, you don't hate America. You're just too lazy to do the fucking work, is what it is.
Yeah, I rage about this all the time.
You hate yourself is what
I
you
want
hate.
to. I want to put an exclamation point on what you were saying, Nate, because like this just irritates the shit out of me. The person that only ever complains about election results, and then you ask them like, "Well, did you go vote?" Well, no, because voting doesn't matter, bro. If voting mattered, and you're like, okay, but to the point that you just made about all of these different racial or ethnic groups, when they mobilize, right, they get together and they vote on their own interests. Look what success they've been able to have. So the system does indeed work. You're not working the
100%.
system. And if Americans got together, and I'm obviously, YouTube, not arguing for any type of like white racial politics by any means. I'm talking about
we're not going Nick Fuentes here.
Americans. If you are American and you care about America, and Americans got together and mobilized and hit the streets and worked together and chose their candidates and voted, then it would be successful. But like you were saying, Nate, it's too fractured over a lot of things that are just like generated. Like I was on here the other night and I was showing people the NCI PsyOps tool. Have you ever seen this? It's like a quantifiable list that you can go down, and it's just like, hey, plug in topic, plug in headline, plug in whatever, and then you can go through and you can assign number values. Does it cause you to want to make a decision without seeing all the facts? Yes, assign it a score. Does it immediately cause emotional outbursts? Is it, like all these things? It's got a ton of categories, like 25 categories. And then based on the score you get at the end, you can go, okay, if it's above 50, I can be reasonably sure that this is a PSYOP. 100%. But you see a lot of these arguments that we've gotten off on, especially over the last year, right? I think there was one kind of big moment of clarity And I think that's when Charlie Kirk got shot. And I think there was like a very brief moment of just like real emotional clarity for a lot of people. And then that was swept under the rug almost immediately with now it's topics about Israel versus Nazis and topics about, and just start, and all this other stuff comes flooding back in to flood the zone, and you stay distracted. Dance monkey. Don't pay attention to what's really going on.
I actually want to pop a comment up here because I want to address it for Army with Armony. I'm not sure if I'm saying your screen name right, but it says China has a better education system, better political system. In America, what we call a donation, they call a bribe, and politicians go to prison or worse. So what I would say to that is I don't need to get into the weeds about whether or not the Chinese have a better education system or political system. I would disagree with that. But you know what the Chinese are way better at than Americans? Buying into what China is.
That's what
they buy into their country. Yeah. Americans don't buy into their country at all. That ship has sailed. And the last time that I saw anything like that was on a grand scale was 9/12. And then for like the couple days after Charlie Kirk, that was about as close to that that we've gotten since that. Okay. But
and the reason why,
right, it went away immediately. Because there's been so many decades of partisan politics.
Candace.
But Americans don't buy into what America is anymore. So when we talk about culture being erased and culture being diluted, like Americans are the people who don't care about it, you know? So why should an immigrant who comes here care about it? Like they do, they recognize that it's better, but you're so apathetic to this culture and you refuse to see it for what it is. I was making the point last night that for every fault in the United States, I can find a correction or an attempt at correcting it. And that's all anybody can ever do is work towards getting better. And that the United States is not a finished product. The ideals and principles that we were founded on are something that we are always supposed to be moving toward because we are meant to be a country that endures generation after generation. And that's what those are. They're something to move at. They're not something that has already happened. So the fact that people can't recognize that for what it is, even though they can look at themselves and be like, oh, I'm just a work in progress. It's okay. Like that's exactly what this is. If you could get out of your fucking head and understand that you're not an individual, but you are a nation of people who have a actual guiding principle and an actual group of founding documents that people set forth for you and died for, and buy into that and believe in it, then you probably would recognize, without somebody have to smack you in the face with it and you not care about it, that the government you have doesn't give a rat's ass about you. And all this other shit that goes on, the bread and circuses and the manufactured noise that we deal with on a day-to-day basis is literally there to keep you feeling apathetic. And it's just nobody buys into America anymore. You can't have a team, you can't have a business or anything like that if nobody buys into the culture. Buy into the culture, what the culture actually is.
I had my response planned to his comment, and you pretty much nailed what I was going to go with that. And what I was going to say is they have a better education system, a better political system. I was going to say for who, right? Because Chinese culture and American culture are not the same. And first group guys will know Asian culture is a collectivist society. It's not an individualistic society. They literally, the whole culture is different. And to your point, they buy into that that collectiveness where it's almost a gift and a curse in America, right? It's what America made. It's what made America the greatest country in the world, is this individualist identity, right? This manifest destiny identity that we have as Americans. However, to your point, that's where the downfall comes, is that we don't have that innateness in us to want to be a collectivist society at the same time. And that's where we're fracturing right now. And that, to your point of we don't have, it's like, what's the common ground between Americans right now? I mean, with us, we could find common ground as veterans. Okay, that's great, right? But like the average American who's just like going about their day-to-day life, it's so much different even than like 20 years ago. You know, it's like when I was a kid, I knew all the neighbors. I knew all the kids in the neighborhood, and I was always out doing stuff and playing with everybody. And it's like now, like I know my next door neighbor, and like that's it. Like I don't want people to talk to me a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Like it's just the way it is, and it's like that's not how. And maybe that's going to be a downfall for America, is that we're not finding the way as we have all these immigrants and different communities coming in and being collectivists when they get here and looking out for their own interest as a group, and we're not doing that. how do you counter that? Like, where do we find the collectiveness in an environment which you described of like everything is designed from the top down to pit us against each other, from left versus right, from Christian versus Muslim to Jew to like, there's 1,000 from rich versus poor. There's 1,000 different things that are designed to pit us against each other as Americans. How do we start to rectify that?
I don't think there's a quick solution. I would tell
you. Yeah, I mean, that's probably like almost impossible to
well,
answer.
there's a quick
generation of
manufactured
Americans.
Solution.
Yeah, well, yes, you can talk about that. But what I'm saying, like, if you want long-term change, have fucking kids and teach them about the United States. Teach them about all this stuff that we're talking about and how to avoid it and not get sucked into that collectivist thought that's bad and buy into the American ideal. Have fucking kids. Raise a generation of Americans who love this place. That is not a quick goal, but it is going to be one that establishes a foundation of people that will eventually replace the shitheads, essentially, in my generation of millennials who think that everything here is ass when it isn't. That's what I say.
But here's the problem with that is we're destroying the ability for young men to do that. How am I going to have young kids if I got to live with my fucking parents? How am I going to have kids young and start a family when I can't afford a home? Because the average first-time home buyer is 40 fucking years old and the average home buyer is 60 years old. You see, like, this is where we're like, that's a great idea, except for like we're setting society up for these young people and these young men to not even be able to do that, to even begin to start.
I get what you're saying. There's way more obstacles than there were when our parents were having children. Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm just saying,
you're right. There's way more obstacles.
The deck is stacked against them so much harder than it was even for us 20 years ago.
Correct.
Sure,
yeah,
but
right.
I would push back on that just a little bit and say, 3-4 generations ago, so my great-great-grandparents, Great Depression. Right. And right after the Dust Bowl.
Chris.
And like, if you think it's as bad as it's ever been, or property is more unaffordable than it's ever been, like, that's just not true. And I think this is one of those times where it's easy to get kind of black pilled and doom and gloom and all this stuff. It's like my grandma, when I was growing up, so weird, like she would eat burnt black toast. Like if a piece of toast got burnt black,
my grandma would do that too.
She would eat it, and she would eat like chicken back and chicken neck, and just like pick the bones out of the spine. And I was like, it was so weird to me as I was growing up. But then like my parents explained to me, it's like, no, her parents lived through the Depression, and they don't throw away anything. And even the chicken carcass got boiled, so they would pull everything off of it and turn it into a soup and stuff like that. And those guys like had it all, lost it all, no ability to buy a home, and yet they still had kids. They still found a way. So are things hard? Yes. But as my wife likes to say, it's like, your ancestors built the pyramids. Like, fucking act like it. Maybe. And don't sit around and doom and gloom and be like, oh, there's no way. No, it's be a man, be an American, and go out and find a way.
And Chris,
and like, that's not easy,
or make one.
Or make
but
a
to
way.
To your point, Chris, and I tell young men this all the time that follow the channel, right now, as a young man, is also one of the easiest times to succeed, because your generation is full of people that are they're to your point, they're black pilled, they're apathetic, they have no interest in fucking grinding, right? So if you're actually willing to outwork everybody right now as a 20-year-old man, you're going to crush life.
Exactly.
Because the competition is also so much lower, because people are so apathetic. It's like, I'm just going to sit at home. I'm just going to live with this is a real thing. Stay-at-home adults is a real thing, right? Like all these young men that are like, I'm just going to live with my parents and play WoW. And if you're the type of young man that's like, you know what? No, I'm going to fucking, I'm 19 and I'm going to get a option 40 contract and I'm going to go be a fucking ranger and like, I'm going to fucking crush the world. That dude is, you're going straight up, bro. So to your point, that's a great point for you, Chris, is like, just because the situation, the environment is not as conducive to success doesn't mean necessarily that you can't find that success.
My wife's been making me listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey podcasts because she's really into it. So like ipso facto by
wife thing.
Yeah. So it's like, by the way, our Venn diagram works now. I'm also a Dave Ramsey listener on the daily. But anyway, there was this kid there was actually a dad that called in and he goes, all right, so this is what happened with my son. He graduated high school. I told him if he didn't want to go to college, that he could stay at home until he was ready to purchase an apartment, government move out. He said he's been doing that for 2.5 years now. So he's almost 20. He went out, he got a certification as a mechanic, I believe he said. So like a real quick trade school certification. He was like, worked his way through it. So no money down, didn't do the college route. He goes, it's been 2 years. He's got about $60,000 saved up in his savings account. Is it time for me to kick my son out of the house?
Holy shit, dude.
You know, and it's just like,
but also maybe not, dude. If he's grinding.
That's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
but to your point, because you said, hey, here's the military track, right? And I did the military track. I tried to work for 2 years, found myself working 5 jobs, could barely put food on the table. But part of that was my fault though, because I like 3 of those jobs was a youth pastor, a worship pastor, and I was doing that thing for a little bit. So not very high paying there. But the military route is a great route, and that's the way that I went.
Oh yeah.
But my entire point is it doesn't have to be that route. If you're like one of those people that's like, I don't want to work for the government, here's a great option.
Trade school
is a great option.
The chat
and
is saying
talks about
trade schools.
the
Yeah,
guild
exactly.
all the time.
It's not only is trade school great. I've been preaching trade school. So for my son's 15, he's probably going to be a West Pointer, which I'm glad that he's into that. But if not,
Cool.
our whole thing is you can do a couple different options. You want to go work construction for 2 years while you figure yourself out as an 18-year-old man? Great option. You want to go to trade school? That's you know why trade school is such a great option right now, because, and trust me, it was talked about everywhere in my master's program in business. Where is the money going to be in the next 10 years? Owning a plumbing business, owning an electrician business, like being a lineman. That's going to be the millionaire jobs, because all these high skill jobs, radiologist. We had a radiologist come speak, or we had a radiologist come speak and was like, I'm going to be out of work in 18 months. Why? Because AI can do my job 10 times faster, 10 times better, and for $0.
Yep.
So you have all these high skill labor jobs that are going to disappear, but high skill blue collar work is going to be where all the money is in the next 20 years.
You know what AI can't do, kids?
I agree with you.
Steal catalytic converters. Start grinding.
It is.
That's right, bro. I mean,
somebody's got to come install your wires. They got to put you got to put your toilet in. They got to build your house, and until robots are doing that, that's going to be the big money in the next 20 years.
And nobody gives.
You don't got to go $200,000 in debt.
I was just going to say, and nobody cares about your degree. Your 4-year degree is worthless to them. What is your experience? What is your experience in this field? That's why places like Anduril and Palantir,
your master's degree doesn't mean shit most of the time,
right? But when you step up,
masters, that's true.
When you step up to the employer and they're like, "Hey, what's your experience?" Yeah, I just worked 2 years through this trade school program, and I've already got this many thousands of hours under my belt.
I'm a journeyman,
fixing Toyotas. Like, you're hired, dude. And I show up to work every day. I'm never late.
The minimum, right?
We talked about this all the time in my MBA program. I felt bad because you got all these 23, 24-year-old, not everybody, there's a lot of older guys, but 23, 24-year-old kids that did their 4-year degree and then they get their business degree. And it's like, where do you think you have a management degree? Where do you think, what business, someone's business, like me, I run a business. I don't know if you guys have your own business. Do you think I'm about to hire some 23-year-old kid who's never had a job because he's got an MBA? No, fuck no, dude. Why? Because you don't know anything about actually running a business. It's great you got your education, but I need work experience in this specific field, right? So that's a big problem too. Like, why I'm trying to tell young people, man, like, I know college sounds great. Go to college when you're 30. Like, when you have work experience to whatever job you're doing, and then you can go and get an advanced degree that'll elevate you further into your career path. Awesome. But like, unless you're going to do, and it used to be the big 3, like you're going to be a lawyer, doctor, and accountant, but shit, accountant is about to go fucking the way of the dinosaur, man. Lawyer is about the way to go to the dinosaur in a lot of, unless you're a criminal defense lawyer, but a lot of these things are going to get completely removed by AI. Yeah. So it's like, dude, military, fantastic.
That's a scary thought.
Engineers? Hey, ChatGPT, design me a...
Yeah, it's a real thing. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg was just talking about how they're going to get rid of all of their mid-level software engineers because AI can just do the job for them. So it's like, you got to make the decision. But to your point, though, that actually is such an advantage for young men coming up, because it's like, you don't need a 4-year degree, man. Like, go to a trade school and you're going to make 6 figures when you're 21 years fucking old with no debt.
Dude, if we're going to talk about like the government enabling anything, like, why not find some of these people that have been doing this blue collar work that you're talking about for 40 years and then helping them start a program, or communities without the government, which would be way better, starting a program to let these guys who own a business, you're a mechanic, you're a plumber, you do HVAC or whatever you do, and then you train people like apprentices to come into your shop and you teach them how to do that trade. And now you've basically trained an entire new generation of people to go do these things. And you're now sort of proto guilding your way into more efficiency and competency in your line of work and in your community. And what you've done is you've boxed out too all of these stupid little, come learn a trade en masse with 500 other people. And you've brought it right back to the person who has been a professional at it for 50 years, like that kind of thing. I would love to see. That's something that used to happen a lot more 60, 70 years ago.
I would completely support a grant program set up for things like that.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to use your business to do this, grant.
Yeah. That would be a great use of actual taxpayer dollars.
For all the other things that we use grants
I'd be okay with that.
Right.
Like I would rather that go to some kid to fucking
Gay Sesame Street in Iraq.
Right. To pay for the materials to go learn how to be an HVAC professional than to go to fucking somebody to get, like you said, a liberal arts degree in some stupid shit. Like, that's way more useful. You're never going to not need somebody to fix a toilet.
But then who's going to be the expert in African-American lesbian dance studies?
Me right now. I just decided I was, because it's that fucking easy.
What I do think is that this is kind of hard. This kind of goes against what I believe in some ways, but like maybe it's for the best that the young generation is having those things gutted. The ability to go get a underwater basket weaving degree and thinking that you're going to get some, going $200,000 in debt for that, and thinking that that's going to be, maybe this young generation is unfortunately paying the price for, hey, we told you if you go get a 4-year degree, you're going to be successful. Yeah. You're not. That's not going to happen for you now. And maybe that will translate to the next generation coming up going, I'm not going to fucking do that, because that's a path to no success. Maybe I want to go the route of the military or construction or trade school or all these different things. So maybe it's for the best that sort of happened. I know that's it goes against my America First kind of like, this young generation is so fucked because they are, but like,
well, we're just talking about
it's also not their fault, right? Like it's like society told all these young people that like, go get a 4-year degree and you're going to be successful. And then you had the rug pulled out up from under you of like, that's not true anymore.
Well, they need to get real hard real quick, because it's like we're whistling past the graveyard on so many things. If you're around, if you're between the ages of like 40 down to anywhere from like 45 and down now, I hope you're not planning on getting Social Security.
Oh yeah,
because that's not going to happen. That's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like, you better get hard now. You know what I mean? Like Will Ferrell style, because like life's going to keep kicking you in the nuts, like right up until the grave. And that's to your point. It's like, that's just the situation that we've been handed. Yeah. So sorry if that's news to you.
Yeah.
No, I agree, man. I agree. This is fun talking to you, Nate, man.
Yeah, what are we talking about? I still got time. What are we talking about next?
Well, shit. Dude,
we normally jump. This is like what we call the kick around part of the show, and then we'll.
I could leave if you want me to leave.
Oh no, you don't. If you're willing to stay, we just assume people want to get out of here and not spend, because we normally are live for like 4 hours.
Oh, I'm not going to be here for 4 hours, but I might be here for like another half hour.
You can stay as long as you want. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we want, we can just start doing the headlines and all that stuff, Chris. I'm fine with that, man, because this is and honestly just touches on shit that we've already been talking about anyway, dude. So
yeah.
And I know you got an opinion on it, so.
Yeah, well, you guys bounce around whatever you want. And Nate, I'll give you an opportunity if you want to go take a leak or something, because we do work with Rumble. And so one of the things that they've been pretty good to us, and so we actually have to do this contractually. But I am going to sell you guys some shit just here for a little bit.
You guys are good now. I'll go piss while you do all your ads and stuff.
There you go.
Sure,
right?
Tell my I still got a bunch of my viewers in the chat. Tell them to go to your Rumble channel, wherever that is.
Word.
Well, I mean, I don't use Rumble other than to watch Nick. That's about the only time I go over there. So, I'm gonna go piss while you guys do that real quick.
Awesome.
We do the same thing, Chris. I'll be right back.
Word. And then there was one. What is up, guys? All right. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sell you guys some shit here real quick, because like I was saying, Rumble's been good to us, and so we've got to be good back to Rumble. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it up on the screen, and it's gonna look like this. You're gonna see a QR code pull up right there. So that way, those of you guys have it slung up on a TV or something like that, you don't even have to turn this show off, because why would you? While you go check this out. But I am going to read an ad for Rumble for all of you YouTube bros that are over there. If you guys are liking the show, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Nate's been a friend of the channel for a while now, and it's awesome that we've finally been able to get him on. But like I said, there's going to come a point in the show tonight where YouTube is not going to like us anymore, because we're going to talk about guns and blood and gore and tactical videos and stuff like that, and they really hate that. So if you're enjoying the show, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and come on over to Rumble. It's called I Came with Fire Podcast on Rumble. You can subscribe or follow the show over there. And that way, when we have to dump YouTube, you guys can hang out with us for the rest of the night, and you'll be alerted every single time that we do go live. We do go live on YouTube, but you just don't get the entire show. But anyway, ad inbound like I promised. Let's see. It goes like this. If you don't have, or if you haven't already, make sure you download the Rumble app. It's free, simple to use, and the best way to stay connected to the content you want. Once you've got it, search for my channel and hit follow. That would be I Came with Fire Podcast, and hit follow. That way you'll get a notification every time we go live. No missed shows, no extra steps. You can grab it right now using the link in the description or in the pinned live chat. Download it to your phone and you're ready to go. And if you prefer watching it on the big screen, well, Rumble is available on all major streaming devices and smart TVs. Just search for Rumble, follow the channel, and be part of the action. Thank you to Rumble. Thank you to you guys. I see a bunch of you guys dipped. Yeah, sorry, nobody likes ads, but it has to get done. So thank you to Rumble. Thank you to everybody else. And it is still just me in here by myself. Let's get the comment section pulled back up and see what you guys are talking about. I see all of the favorites still in the chat. Hey, thanks for all the new follows tonight. Lots of you guys right there. Thanks for the follow. Jasmine Rose, thanks for the follow. Let's see who we got here.
Kristen in Texas.
Thanks for the follow. Lots of new follows. So thanks to you guys for coming in, and we'll get Nate back whenever he's back. But guys, that was the kick around, and we have a thing around here. I'm never just going to sell you some shit without also coming up for just a little bit of air. So if you're new around here, you can get used to this. We like to have lots of fun, and let's see what we got. Which one?
There's some serious mental retardation. I love it.
There really
any
is.
of those are good.
Let's see. All right. So check this one out and tell me what you guys think. It's not a movie. It's football.
It's football.
I don't like football.
Who do you want to watch?
I want Taylor Swift.
Oh, jeez.
That's it.
Yep.
I'll allow it.
Yep.
I'll allow it.
Not in this house.
Fuck no.
That is not
Fuck
what
no.
we do. All right. Well, kick around over. So Nate, if you're cool, we got some headlines and some current events that we'd like to go through. You down with that?
Oh yeah, dude. There's some wild shit going on.
Hell yeah, guys. Let's
Dude, hey, if you guys want
Mr. President, it's time to hit the headlines.
Sorry, Nate, I didn't tell
That
you.
was
we had
building
stickers.
No, you're good. You're good, bro. I didn't know we had. I didn't know we had a cool. What are they called? Stinger
Cutaway?
coming through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys want to come on Tuesday, man? I do my political live on Tuesday.
That'd be fun.
You guys might find it fun. We could hit that up.
Anytime that we can make the schedule work, would absolutely love to do.
I
it.
think we would be the whole
We'll
West
talk
Coast
offline.
on lock. I just kind of realized because
Yeah.
you're right in the middle. It's like a Nate hug, Nate sandwich. Really, Chris is in Washington. I'm in California. You're just the meat in between the bread.
Yeah, we're
buns, man, you know?
we're all just don't know what we're doing. Don't know
don't
why we're just
Dude,
still.
I have a
fucking
goal
living
of
here.
moving back to Florida within the coming months. So getting the fuck out of here. That's for goddamn sure.
Dude, I'm trying to get to Texas, but this
Yeah.
is where we're from. Our family all lives here, but it's like
I wonder if Governor Wheelchair is going to win re-election. I kind of
It's
don't.
gonna be
Kind of
it's
don't
gonna
know.
be
It's close.
interesting. I mean, I don't know if he puts enough Israeli flags behind him at his press conferences, then he'll probably be fine. Because that dude, oh my god, he usually has about 9 Israeli flags to 1 American flag at every press conference he does.
It's not
For
a good
real,
look these
that's
days.
wild. No,
Oh
that's
yeah, dude.
wheelie. That's wheelie bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's. But I mean, they all are. So it's
Mhm.
like fucking whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jim Ferguson. I'm trying to pull up this thing that you sent me. I didn't
Me?
realize that it was an. Yeah, I didn't realize it was an X.
Oh, don't even use the X thing. If you're, are we going to talk about the Alien Enemies Act?
Yeah.
All right,
Want me
let's
to
just
pull up
talk
the-
about it.
Pull up
Now,
the
you don't
ground
even.
news link.
You
Or
can
you
pull
just
up the
wanna go
ground
straight to
news
it?
link. That's fine.
Yep. Minnesota
If you got
Welfare
a gra-
Fraud.
No.
Oh.
Well, I just let me jump into the Alien Enemies thing.
Just do it, dude.
Yeah.
Take it away.
No, a couple weeks ago, you guys were asking for more stuff on history, and tonight I wanted to talk about the Alien Enemies Act anyway, because it really seems that the momentum behind it to get these guys out of our country is dying out. And then I figured it was a perfect way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You nerds get some history, I get to talk about it, and then we can bring it back to the forefront. But this month, the Fifth Circuit Court argued that because the Venezuelan government didn't officially send Tren de Aragua to the United States, that President Trump can't treat them like an invading force to meet the criteria for the Alien Enemies Act. But to me, that's a very narrow and risk-averse interpretation of the Alien Enemies Act. And I get the caution. Obviously, like, they're trying to avoid setting a weird precedent, but I totally disagree with them. And I think history supports that assertion as well. The very first overseas military action in American history wasn't against a foreign government or a standing federalized army. It was actually against pirates, who are criminals, the Barbary pirates to be exact. A pirate is a non-state actor, and Thomas Jefferson sent the U.S. Marines to kill and fuck those guys up because they were preying on American ships. They were doing something called impressing sailors, and that's a total infringement on American sovereignty, and that's a very early example of this. Thomas Jefferson set a precedent by saying this group of people is endangering Americans in a far off place in the Mediterranean. We're going to go over there and we're going to kill them. And these people are already here inside the walls. Why some fucking judge is standing in the way of the president trying to eradicate a group of people doing harm to Americans on American soil makes no sense to me. And then you can jump 200 years forward and go toward Al Qaeda and ISIS and treat them the same way as non-state actors. They're just as violent, as hostile as a standing army that's recognized by a national government. But Tren de Aragua is a cartel operating here inside the United States. And I wish I could ask the judges, do you actually believe our nation only has the right to defend itself if its enemies play by the rules? And I already know the answer you guys are going to give, but because if that's the case, then the most lawless and violent people in the world become the most protected ones, not Americans. And the final argument I'll make on this is that the liberty of American citizens exists above all else. Just citizens, not bad faith actors who walked into the country because we had a terrible president. But I guess the point of this and bringing it back to the forefront is it feels like, again, the government gets in its own way from trying to solve a problem when there is a historical precedent for it in the very first foreign military operation the United States military did and going after and killing the Barbary pirates. What do you guys think?
Well, I was going to say, first of all, I just want to say that because my great grandfather, John Adams, was the one that signed this, which is a real thing, by the way.
Oh.
That's actually true.
Yeah,
It's
a good
obviously fantastic. This is kind of interesting.
It's even better
I was
now.
under the impression that people from a country that we are at war with can be deported, right? But how does that factor into Tren de Aragua as they're classified as a, how does being classified as a international terrorist organization, does that not qualify as a country we are at war with? Because
No,
it seems like it should.
it doesn't, because a terrorist organization isn't recognized as a country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, I would say it maybe legally, as
Mhm.
far as I understand the act, then you potentially can't. But like, also to your point, are we really putting that distinction of like, hey, these guys are terrorists, but hey, because Maduro didn't directly send them and we're not at war with him.
Yep, that's what the Fifth Circuit said, which is
did
too
say
narrow which is too narrow of an interpretation. It doesn't actually say they need to be sent by a foreign government to do this. And to the point I've made about the Barbary pirates, like, we went and killed criminals, impressing sailors and sinking ships and killing sailors. Like, that's what we did.
Yeah, we did.
Like, this is something that happened in the Mediterranean versus a group of people that exist here in the United States, which is way more dangerous. These people hold ground technically here in the United States. Look at a state like Colorado, right, where there was those apartment complexes.
Yeah,
SWAT
you're
teams were
right.
going in after
Yeah.
them, right? Like, to me, that says you have a foreign enemy force taking up territory in our country. Like, that's an invasion. Like, by definition, if I have to through armed force remove somebody, like that's that's literally an armed invasion. But the other thing they cite is the 14th Amendment. This sort of argument we got into with the professor last night about this is that because they exist here in the United States and they were declared lawfully present, that they have the right to life, liberty, and property here in the United States and can't be deported without due process. And that's why Trump was trying to enact the Alien Enemies Act to get them out of here faster.
In all technicality, it was they are not allowed to have their rights of life, liberty, or property denied without
Yeah.
due process. Was the
Correct.
Which I don't understand, because you didn't follow due process entering the country.
Thank you.
Yep.
So
It's a rake face moment, because
Right.
it gets in the way, because that's what it says. It says that they're here, and the interpretation is that they have the right to due process, which is stupid.
But one of the points that I make all the time about this is it's the inside, outside, inside game that politicians like to play, especially politicians that
Right.
want to see the United States fundamentally changed. Because
Yeah.
whenever they want, it's like, well, that's not how I'm going to interpret that law.
I'm using
So when it
this
says that
airdrop
I
right.
have to, enforce the border, I mean, do I though? Like, you know what? I'm just going to do it this way, blow it wide open, because really what I want is open borders, flood the nation, do all this stuff, right? Even though Constitution says that one of the executive branch's jobs is to, right? But then when they turn around and they want the Constitution on their side, then it's, oh, but my decorum, like, we can't do that. Sorry, Constitution doesn't allow for it, right? Which is one of the reasons that you were asking earlier, Brandon, into the conversation that we had last night, right? Like, is now a time? Is it time to think about another constitutional amendment? Because did the Constitution, could it have foreseen this problem that we're having, right? Of course,
Yeah.
the Constitution enshrines the principles of the founding fathers of the United States into the document, but there's a reason that we have the Bill of Rights, because it was intentionally short in the first place.
If the Constitution prevents the preservation of the United States, which it doesn't, but the way they're treating it is like it prevents the preservation of the United States, then it doesn't have a point. It is a living, breathing document that we are allowed to amend and have amended many times. To your point, Chris, you're right. This is now the time to have that conversation about changing. This is a totally unforeseen circumstance, which the document allows for,
I would say what's this is how I look at it. Anything constitutionally, what was the purpose and the intent behind the founding fathers making the Alien Enemies Act, which would be to get rid of enemies of the United States from carrying out fucking wrongdoing or attacks on the United States, right? So
Sure.
I know that it specifically says that it has to be a country that we are declared war with, but was that actually the intent? Was the intent like, hey, it has to specifically be this, or was the intent to deport enemies of the state out of the country? It seems like the intent was to deport bad actors from countries who we are at war with. Well, now we're getting into terrorism, which wasn't really a thing probably we were thinking about in the founding fathers days. But the intent still feels like the intent was to remove bad actors from countries who we are enemies with.
Well, it's
You know what I
interesting you
mean?
asked that question, because that the signing of that is also looked at as the first schism into two different parties, because Adams' party was worried about what you're talking about with giving the government the ability to say, we can now remove dissenters because you are, basically a threat to the state. And that was sort of the argument that was had at the time about the signing of it and why it was unpopular. And I would say that that's a fair question, but at the same time, when we're dealing we're dealing with here, the ambiguous language of it allows us to view it through that lens because of the times we live in. Like, if you are a constitutional absolutist, then you must also then believe in the fact that this document was written to be changed as we need it to be. It was written short and ambiguously in certain ways. And the other thing too is, like, miss me with the whole, like, constitution, decorum thing, like Chris was saying too, because most of these people don't believe in shall not be infringed either. So like your whole fucking argument is fucked from
Well,
the
that's what I was
get-go.
just gonna say. If you're really a constitutionalist, then you believe I should be able to own a nuclear submarine.
Damn right.
You
Damn
know what I mean?
Skippy.
Captain Nate.
If you're an absolutist, you would believe that. Like I should be able to be flying an Apache helicopter around wherever the fuck I want.
sick,
you
dude.
know,
Hell yeah,
it
right.
would be dope.
Well,
but to your point, it's
I think what you
Yeah.
were saying earlier, Nate, about the legality of it, that's where if you can tie terrorism to a state sponsorship,
which we did,
That's
right?
the
With
whole point.
Maduro
Then-
just recently.
then-
Correct. That's
Did
then
you just get
if-
tied
I
to
know
Chris
we're
is describing the pathway.
I
Yep.
know we're talking about proxies and we're talking about cutouts, but here's the thing: if you can tie it to a state sponsor, then via that
So-
proxy, are you not at war with that state? That should
That's
be
why they
we-
just
the
declared the
legal
Cartel
pathway.
del Soles as
just
an
gonna-
FTO too.
I
We
was
did a
just gonna say
whole
that. Yep.
episode about the Cartel de los Soles and how it was tied into Antifa. That's a really good episode because I broke down like the money chain for these guys. It's a cartel that they deny exists. So it's wild too to see Marco Rubio come out and make that statement about identifying
was
him
just
as
gonna-
an FTO.
I was going to
Right.
show you. I just had this pulled up. If you want to pull
Right.
it up, I had this from
And-
my last live.
We've been talking
been
about
presented
that
there.
cartel for like a month and a half because that is the middleman missing link in this whole thing. That cartel is the cartel of the elites there in Venezuela that is used as more of a leadership cutout that goes into these smaller groups like Tren de Aragua. And they have like some of that money has made its way into the hands of Antifa through multiple cutouts was sort of the point of that podcast episode. But Trump is what Chris was talking about is legitimizing that pathway to being able to recognize them as a state sponsor of terrorism, which ties into their presence in the United States and opens up way more doors for us to do something about it.
So here would be my question. You guys probably might know better than me. Why do we even need that act to deport Tren de Aragua? Is there not, you know what I mean? Like, is there not something, again, some type of like,
literally because states are standing in the way.
Yep, that's
You know what I mean?
So the federal
Yep.
government
is
the
there
federal
not like
government
some type of something we have in legality that says we can deport terrorists? Like we don't have something standing there, you know?
They
it
would
already
say, well,
existed,
then you
but
have
states
to-
are standing in the way.
they would say to you that you have to prove they're a terrorist, and that's what due process is, which is horseshit.
Because every
That's what
single
they would
time,
say to you.
every single
they
time
deserve
that Trump, every single time
justice.
that the federal government is making a move to do anything, especially when it comes to deportations and immigration right now, some state, some idiot that doesn't even have standing makes a suit, and then they send it to some liberal jurisdiction, usually like DC or California, and then some district court judge swings a gavel like they're a king and goes, "No, Mr. Trump, you can't do
that's
this."
real tyranny.
So that's why the federal government is trying to make a legal pathway of taking it to the Supreme Court and go, no, according to this act that goes all the way back to John Adams, like, yes, we can, as long as we
Wow.
can determine. Yeah.
Yep. That's it, man. Again, it's getting in our own way.
It's
Like
lawfare.
this, you
Yeah.
would think people would recognize, this is
It's
just
so
a problem
basic,
for everybody.
you know?
It does. Like, hey,
It's
look,
like, hey, let's deport terrorists, and we're like, well,
right.
wait.
If I walk into your house and just shit on the floor, aren't you going to want me to leave? Right? Like,
Right.
or are you
Unless
going
you
to
get
demand that I
shifted.
get a day in court as a criminal? Like, no, you would want me the fuck out of your house for shitting on the floor.
I didn't even realize that was going on. Well, and I should have.
Yeah,
What was
exactly.
his name? The Venezuelan dude that or we deported him to El Salvador and then brought him back and then we're
Oh,
trying to-
the New Jersey dad? What the
Yeah,
fuck
Maryland-
was his
yeah,
name?
Maryland
Yeah.
Abrego
yeah,
Garcia.
Abrego
Yeah, there it
Garcia.
is.
Yeah, thank you.
Same shit
Yeah.
that's happening with him, right? Like, oh, you
Yep.
can't deport him, you got to bring him back, and well, now you got to
Right.
deport him here, you got to bring him back. So it's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Bro, the one congressperson, whoever it was, flew all the way down there to get a photo op with him. And while
Yeah.
this dude is sitting there in the photo op with the congressperson, his gang tattoos are showing on his
Right.
forearms.
I know. Like, whoops.
Dude, right.
And then they
All
tried to
the-
say, did you see the left tried to say that we're photoshopped, that they
Yeah.
photoshopped his gang
Right.
tattoos? It's like, oh,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Totally. Yeah, that's all it
All
is.
right.
That's
Oh, yeah.
crazy, dude.
I'm
I
putting
didn't
a
even.
round spin on that one, bro.
A round spent. Well,
Yeah.
we have this one pulled up. This
Make
isn't,
the Alien Enemies Act great again.
this
Yeah.
isn't really like one of
Mega.
our typical palate cleansers, but I'm gonna bring up for a little bit of air on this one, guys, just
Oh,
because
dude,
this
yes.
is one of the greatest self-owns that I've ever seen. And Nate, I don't know if you caught this.
Well, I got to get the soundboard ready. Hold on.
This soundbite today. So
It's literally named Jasmine Crockett. The thing on the soundboard.
Oh, she's a piece of work, dude.
All right, so check this out. This might be a new low, and that's
The
really
chirp.
You talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Anytime now, ladies.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is related to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people?
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when
I don't know what you're talking about. I need to change
all he had to say was it was a Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead you.
Oh, this dumb bitch, dude. Come on.
Dumb bitch.
You fucked up, Jack. Just fucking, sometimes you have to be like, you know what?
Well,
I'm fucking dumb.
Right.
Not that it would have been any less of a piece of shit thing to do, but as far as excuses go, you know what? Somebody on my team made a mistake and we didn't catch it in time.
I love how she
throw
was
one
like,
of your interns under the bus.
We know it's a different Jeffrey Epstein.
I love how she was like, I never said it was that Jeffrey Epstein.
Right, like,
Fuck off, dude.
Only the most controversial name ever, right? Like, you know what you were
in
inferring.
a hearing about Jeffrey Epstein, the sex trafficker.
Stupid fucking bitch, dude. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
heading back down into our last.
Okay, that's funny. That shit's funny, dude.
Our last. This is our last headline of the night, and if you could stick around just a little bit further, we will go off of YouTube, Nate. And I got a tactical video that if you're gonna stick around,
I do got the Minnesota stuff too after yours.
Oh, okay. Okay, you still want me to go back to that? All right. Anyway, in the spirit of calling balls and strikes, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of bad things that happen, but this I don't think is one of them. This is actually one of the good things that came out of the Trump administration, and we like to see it. We want to see more of this over here. So heading over to CNBC, Trump administration takes further steps to dismantle the Department of Education. So the bullet points on this are going to be the Trump administration announced on Tuesday that it will transfer much of the U.S. Department of Education's programs to other agencies, and that's basically how they're spreading it out. They're like, hey, the DOE has way too much bloat. Like, it's mostly administrators. It's not even performing its original charter and all the things. So we're just going to take those things that shouldn't be here because there's so much overlap and there's so much redundancy in the government, and we're going to put them where they make sense. And then now, look, turns out we didn't need this department in the beginning, right?
Let the states do their
Currently,
job.
the agency
I'm all about it, dude.
oversees
All about that.
Yeah,
Get rid of it.
$1.6 trillion federal student loan portfolio and provides funding to low-income students and enforces civil rights in the classrooms across the country. So that's CNBC trying to come in with why it's such a bad thing. But here's something interesting that really came out of it. And if you guys are new here, after the show, every single night, I take all of the headlines, all of the videos, everything we use, and I dump it down in the show notes channel on our Discord server. And that's us showing you our homework so that you can hold us accountable and see that we're not selling you a crock of shit. But
I never do that. I just make my audience believe that I know everything.
There you go. That's another way to do it. But an interesting thing that came out of this,
straight gaslighting.
We're jumping over to Newsweek for this one. My wife actually made me aware of this. Is what was going on. Nursing is no longer counted as a professional degree by Trump admin. But here's the thing. My wife was telling me about this morning, and she was just like, yeah, apparently nurses are no longer considered professionals. And there's a bunch of TikTok videos that are popping up about it and everything. And I was like, well, that just sounds like a weird talking point. Let me spend 2 minutes going and looking up what actually happened. So,
which I haven't done yet. I've just seen the headline.
Okay, so according to this Newsweek article, which it gets into it, there was a regulation, and I'm not going to bore you guys with like what the CFR code for it was and everything, but essentially, the Department of Education, per a government regulation, had a series of degree programs that were considered professional degree programs that it allowed, if they were designated professional degree programs, you were allowed to get Pell Grant money above and beyond the 4-year degree, essentially raising it from $50,000 cap up to like a $200,000 cap. And it specifically stated in the regulation, here are the professional degree programs that are recognized. And then it had some very interesting legalese in the end. And it said, and more, basically, and more could be here. So previous administrations saw that, and their take on it was, well, it doesn't say we can't add nursing and we can't add occupational therapy and we can't add. And so it started throwing a bunch of other programs in there that weren't specifically listed in the original regulation that the DOE was following. What the Trump administration did was they came back and they looked at it, and their interpretation was not from previously, like, well, it doesn't say we can't. The Trump administration's interpretation of is it doesn't say that we have to, because nursing isn't specifically stated in this regulation. And so all that happened is that the Trump administration downgraded it from that, or removed it from that list of professional degree programs that allowed you to get the $200,000 Pell Grant for to go to, and now it's just back down at the $50,000 level. So essentially all that's happening is if you want to pursue your degree in nursing or occupational therapy, there was like several others that got downgraded in there, you're just going to have to take out privatized loans to do it now. You're not going to get free federal Pell Grant money
grants
to go do it. That's it. That's all that happened. The Trump administration isn't saying you're not a professional, like, miss me with that, Melinda. All it's saying is that degree program wasn't specifically stated in the original regulation that the DOE had.
All the headlines I saw have been saying this will, and again, I've only seen the headlines because I just saw it today.
Yeah.
Sure. All the headlines are saying that now this means that nurses won't be able to get federal loans. That's what the headlines are saying.
But that's not true. They can.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's what the headlines are saying. Yeah,
of course. And this is one of those things where it's like, are you saying a thing that is technically true? Yes, but the intent of honesty isn't there, because they can still get federal Pell Grant money, federal grants to get their base level nursing degree. That still exists. But what it's saying is it's not on the list that allows you to get the follow-on Pell Grant, the follow-on federal grant money that takes you up to that $200,000 cap now.
Now, is there, I don't know enough about nursing, maybe people in the chat or you guys know, is there advanced nursing degrees that would take you up and above that are now being like screwed over because of that?
Sure. Yeah, there. So
I don't know how nursing works, man. So
yeah, no, it's fine. I'm an 18 Delta, so I am the nurse.
Yeah,
that's the joke.
There you go.
No, so you have.
I'm an 18 Echo, so I don't know jack shit about it. Yeah.
So you have what's called the BSN. That's your basic nursing degree. So that would be like a bachelor's level nursing degree. So you hear people talk about CNAs, right, and then RNs, and then it goes up from there. So CNA is a certified nursing assistant. That's typically an associate's degree level that you would get, and then your RN, registered nurse, that would be at a BSN level, like a basic science and nursing degree. That's a 4-year degree. And then you can go on above that and you can specialize, and you can be like a nurse practitioner, an NP. You can be a nurse anesthetist as a new degree path that's opened up. And these are master's level degrees that are on the same level with your physician's assistant degree, which by the way, Foot Stomp, the Army, was the one that started the PA.
Would those still be considered professional degrees?
So the ones that are in the, thank you.
Because it seems like if it takes a master's degree, it should still be considered a
professional
degree. Right?
Everything that was under the professional degree list, that word professional that the government was using, was at the master's level and up. The only reason that they're using that word professional is like these are the master's levels degrees. And tell me what I got wrong, Ratchet, because I know she is a nurse. So if I got any of that wrong, she's gonna light my ass up, and you should, because accuracy matters. But
yeah, I'm just wondering, like, it makes sense for like the lower level degrees of not need, like, what do you need $200,000 to get an associate's degree for? But when we start talking about like the nurse practitioner and the advanced degrees, then it seems like you would want them to still be able to get these grants and loans. But I don't know if that's completely different. If it's not, like, I don't know how it works. So I'm just
It's
asking.
It's literally just saying that if you want to go on to get a master's level degree in nursing, you're not going to be able to apply for it's taken off the list of federal grant money that can be applied to it. You're just going to have to get a personal loan or work your way
Okay.
through it.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that how it is for almost everybody in every profession?
There was a very short list of professional level degrees that you were allowed to get federal grant money.
Is there a shortage of nurses, or is
Yeah,
there
that's what I was, Brandon. That's what I was just going to say. Is it kind of makes
Yeah.
sense if there's, which there was during COVID, if there was
Yeah.
a shortage, then the grant kind of makes sense to
It does,
incentivize.
Yeah. Yeah, typically. My
Well, do we
understanding
know,
right
is
now
there a
is that there's
surplus or a shortage? Yeah.
my understanding right now is there's not a shortage of nurses in the United States. It's actually one of the most popular degree paths in medicine.
Sure.
I mean, I'm all about supporting nurses, so I don't know. Like, I'm not.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what I mean? I think it's
a utility. It's like you were talking about before with all of these blue collar jobs. Like, no one's going to hire a fucking robot to be a nurse. Like, we need people to
Right.
do stuff like that. Like, medicine is medicine.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. If this like fucks over people from becoming nurses at all, then I'm like, nah, dude, down thumbs. But
I
like,
agree with you.
I have no idea if this actually does that, to Chris's point, or not. If this even changes anything. So
Well, it's still so there's grant money and there's your federal student aid, which still has to be paid back. It's just a loan
Right.
guaranteed by the government.
But why? But why do we not want nurses to be able to get the grants? Would be my question. This seems like a profession where I'm like, I'm cool with nurses getting grants.
Well, but they weren't the grant money that they were able to get already ran out. It was already capped. This is the loan money above and beyond that was guaranteed to them by the federal government to go on to these professional degrees, is what I'm saying. So the grants haven't been affected, to my understanding from reading this. The grants that existed to help, if you wanted to apply them to a nursing degree, that was still there. But
I don't know how any of this works. I'm too retarded to even weigh in on it. I'm just gonna trust you guys.
What it
I don't
says
know how the
here,
medical system works at all.
What it says here is that the cap student borrowing for professional degrees eliminates what's called grad plus loans. And the U.S. Department of Education announced that nursing is no longer considered a professional degree for graduate. Like, so after your BSN is when that stops kicking in, no matter what your scoped in specification is. So if you want to, like you said, you're going to go get an esthetician nursing degree, that's no longer eligible for grants. Like your basic BSN, if basic is the right word, is still eligible for those grants. It's just grad level education no longer gets grants. So you can still be a nurse, you're just not a niche nurse, I guess, on free money.
Got it.
On free money.
Free money.
On free.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But
well, that makes, I can see why people would be upset about that, but
sure.
At the end of the day, I don't know. I feel like there's other things that could be looked at, I suppose, but I don't know, man. That is a weird
join
one.
the military.
I don't know the apparatus.
Use the GI Bill. I mean,
sure.
There you go. There you go.
No, absolutely.
And Ratchet, I did see your comments saying like, yeah, okay, certified nurse aide. Sorry. Accuracy matters. I'll say the right thing. But all right. Anyway,
Chris is used to that military stuff, dude.
It's fine.
Go easy
and
on
then final one of the night here, Brandon, is yours. Guys, we're going to head over to ground news for this one. And we like ground news. It's a really great tool. It's a news aggregator. So it's going to pull in a bunch of headlines that go into one topic. And then it shows you the political bent from which those news sources that are covering that topic are covering it from. It's really useful to you as you're trying to like identify where the PSYOP is coming from. Because you can look at, it'll parse out those news sources. You could say, okay, here's one from,
ground news is sick.
CNBC, or here's one from One American News, or like whatever. They have a really cool feature in here. It's called the blind spot. And that goes in and they will show you news stories that are not being covered by one aisle politically, totally and completely. So if you are only reading Fox News or stuff on the right, there's stories that you're completely going to miss. And this kind of helps you fill in all of that and be well read. We like ground news. We don't have any, relationship with them whatsoever. Wish we did. They're just a really cool tool, and we're always trying to make you guys smarter and harder to kill. But anyway, heading over to ground news for this one. Here we got a report links Minnesota welfare fraud sent funds to Al-Shabaab through Hawalas. Yeah. Oh, no
Oh
way.
yeah, oh
What?
man. Oh,
So
shot.
the bullet points on this one, boys, are taxpayer dollars in Minnesota have been compromised with funds allegedly sent to the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, according to the City Journal's
Jesus.
investigation. Billions of
Shocker.
taxpayer dollars have been stolen in Minnesota and funneled to the Al-Qaeda-linked group Al-Shabaab. Yeah, you're repeating yourself. According to a report, got it. The Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services Program saw payouts skyrocket, with fraudulent claims totaling over $104 million in just a few years, as noted by U.S. Attorney Joseph Thompson. And that same U.S. Attorney described the fraud as a sprawling network that drains resources meant for needy individuals.
It's crazy, dude. So during COVID, the organization that they're really looking at is called Feeding Our Future. And they lied about distributing meals to people at home during the pandemic when people were locked down. And that's kind of like where this began. But
Jesus
the way they lied was fabricating the sites where these meals were supposed to be available, how many meals were handed out, and the real focus was meant to be kids. So they lied about serving meals to children. And the court documents
Straight
also
to hell.
mention straight to hell, dude.
Those people.
Straight to hell.
Jesus, dude.
Exactly, dude. They mention a grocery store called the Evergreen Grocery and Deli, and it's in Minneapolis. But 1.4 million meals were said to have been served there, and they received almost $5 million for that, but they served no kids. And then the owner of that
Wow.
grocery store, whose name is Hamdi Hussein Omar, right? Real American name. And another guy named Hebo Salah Dar owned the Northside Wellness Center Corporation. And they also claim that they serve tens of thousands of meals to people weekly. Tens of thousands of meals weekly seems insane, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So that is insane. But they laundered over $250 million over the course of a year, and 56 people got arrested and pled guilty for fraud. So that's one. And then there was a housing stabilization program, which was supposed to support senior citizens, people with disabilities, and then people who are disabled because of mental issues, that defrauded all of those people for $60 million. So there's 8 defendants in that have all pled guilty. All of their names I'm not going to read to you because they would take way too long, but they're all of Somalian descent. But these guys laundered money.
A lot of Mohammeds.
A lot of Mohammeds and Omars and all this other shit, but they laundered money also into other states. So they fabricated all these children's names and addresses and age. They weren't real people. They faked the meal count, all of this shit, and they laundered the money into one of the states is Ohio. They took money from an old folks home to purchase real estate, luxury cars. Oh yeah, dude, it's crazy. And they wire. This is where the money going to the terrorist group comes in. So the individuals who were taking the money were the ones doing wire transfers overseas. And in that region of Minnesota, there was a 13,300% increase for claims of autism and behavioral intervention from 2018 to 2023. The majority of which, almost 70%, was total bullshit. But the Feeding the Future and the housing stabilization guys, they are what's called a remittance network, or a hawala to them. But these people, and I'll say this too, that guy Omar Fatah, the one who was running for mayor and lost, he's not actually listed.
What was his?
I'm the
what's the
captain now,
movie?
dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Cap. What the fuck? Now I'm trying to remember.
The Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah. But he's
I
not
am the
wrapped
mayor
up
now.
in it. He's
Yeah.
not listed in the documents as being under investigation. But
Yet.
there was another one I found
Probably should
from.
be.
He probably should. There's no fucking way. I just got to say
Yeah.
that. But there was an older case I found when I was looking in this. This is from justice.org, the actual justice.gov website. But back in 2011, there were 2 Somalian women in Rochester, Minnesota, who were convicted of providing material support to a terrorist organization. That terrorist organization was Al-Shabaab, but they were soliciting money door to door. They were using poor kids as the reason to get money from people, but they also went over the border from Minnesota into Canada and were doing it too. And then they held like a teleconference, basically asking for donations, and they had members of Al-Shabaab in the teleconference asking for money. So this, like, the whole thing is just this massive racket for funding Al-Shabaab. All these people should be just trumped up on RICO charges and just
Yes.
booted the fuck out of here. But it's crazy, dude.
Well,
Minnesota
and-
is fucked, dude.
And
Oh my
bad,
God,
bad Trump,
dude.
good Trump. So good Trump, right before we came on
Bad Trump,
tonight,
good Trump.
was just like, oh, well, that's good to know. So special protected legal status in the United States,
Gone.
gone.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. This is probably one of those times where it's
Good move.
like,
Well, and
yeah,
this
let's
is taxpayer money. The people of Minnesota are literally through multiple cutouts funding Al
put
Shabaab
your our boy Tim Waltz, dude, out there crushing it in Minnesota,
when
huh?
he's not directing the National Guard to shoot
God,
paintballs at
dude.
people on their doorsteps and creating havoc for George Floyd, you know, or cum guzzling, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. He was making a special you know, video for Glock and Company, I think, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, if you get that
That's
reference.
fucking nuts.
Nate, you did see the photo that came out
Hundreds of
from him during the
millions of
campaign where he's
dollars.
wearing the first group hat out there watching.
Oh, Tim. Oh, I did an entire
Sergeant
episode.
Major Waltz.
I did an entire episode. So this is how I did it. You guys, this is actually going to be funny. So when the campaign was going on, I could not do a YouTube video about Kamala, about Tim Waltz, without it immediately being limited and demonetized. Just every single one. So what I did for this episode is I put a picture of, and you can look back on it. It's still on my YouTube channel. It's Donald Trump and his mugshot, and it's got a first group Green Beret on it. And it's Donald Trump, and it's titled "Donald Trump Commits Stolen Valor, Fakes Being Green Beret." That's the video and the headline. And so the whole first minute is like me talking about all the stolen valor shit. And I'm like, you think it's this guy, and it's Donald Trump and the Green Beret. And I'm like, but actually it was fucking this guy. And the whole video is on Tim Waltz, but I only talked about him as Donald Trump. And it was just like fucking green, and they pushed it to the moon. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, dude.
Dude, that reminds me
I'm
of
like, because I figured it out. I'm like, I can't do videos on this or they'll demonetize it and they'll limit it. So I said it was Donald Trump that committed the stolen valor, and they let me do and it was all about Tim Waltz. It was all pictures and everything, but I just said Trump whenever I was talking about Waltz, and their YouTube was like, you're good to go, dude. So yeah, man. Yeah, fuck that guy, by the way.
James Lindsay and that other guy who wrote that fake paper on feminism, and how they gave a bunch of crazy examples about like how men prefer to be walked around on leashes and stuff like that. And
God, dude.
I can't remember what university it was. Part of me thinks it was one of the ones in England, maybe either Cambridge or Oxford, that gave them an award. And it was a total bullshit essay, like dissertation level essay that they just fabricated and lied all this data, and they won some award for feminism in one of these countries. But it was all lies. You know, they made it up, and there was nothing factual about it at all, but it won an award. It's just really funny.
Well, those are the headlines that we got for you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to drop all of those headlines into the Discord server. So if you guys are here in the chat, especially over on Rumble, you'll see that Discord link. It's scrolling. Lauren Bobot, our personal chat bot, she scrolls it for you every few minutes.
Lauren Bobot.
Yeah,
That's
so
her,
click on
dude.
that. Click on that. Head over to
She's
the
a good
Discord.
time
You
in
can
a theater.
see all of our homework. And with that, guys, it's getting ready to be time to go over to the no knock breakdown. But before we do, let's just come up for just a little bit of air and check this one out. This is white liberal women stopping men from saving the republic. Oh, okay.
Get out the way.
Oh,
Bitch, get out the
oh,
That's it, bro. He saw it coming from a mile away, dog.
Get out the way.
Get out the way.
oh, that
Why? What are you doing?
I don't know where she was going.
It's a race.
Dude, white chicks professionally in the way, apparently, dude.
Oh, dude. Hey, so let me say this real quick. I know I always get in trouble when I tell this joke, but you guys, but I don't care. You guys know are we moving? Are we moving over there first?
We're getting ready to. Do you want me to do it now? Hey,
Yeah,
all right.
just move over there first before I tell the joke.
So check it out. Hey, if you guys are hanging out
It's a
with
white
us
liberal
on,
women joke.
if you guys are hanging out with us on YouTube, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully we get to do this again and come see you guys over on the Valhalla channel, especially for everybody that rated and stuck with us. But for the rest of the show, because we're going to be talking about tactical things and guns, and then we're going to hang out with you guys in the comments section. But if you want to be a part of that, and if you want to get into the late night section where YouTube can't touch us and can't demonetize us and can't screw us over, then please come on over to Rumble. All right. It's at I Came With Fire podcast on Rumble. Find us there, jump in, hit the follow button, and that's where we're going to be for the rest of the night. The party rolls on. But
thanks
hey,
to you guys on YouTube for following
all for
us
you
over there,
homies
too.
on YouTube. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Go with God and don't be a dick.